Let us now start with a new project, the React Quiz Room, along with API integration. Once you understand this complete project, you will be able to master useReducer hook. So here in this project, we are going to create our own fake API, and from that API, we are going to fetch all the question and we are going to display in our project. So here we are going to display different screen, and screen will be changed based on user action. Now you can see I'm inside this localhost 3000 port and my React app is running. Now here I'm having this first screen where I'm having welcome to the quiz. Below that I'm having text and how many questions I have given in my API, that total number will be displayed here. So in my API, in total, I am having 10 questions. So number 10 will be displayed here. And below that, I am having this start quiz button. As soon as I click on this button, you can see I have moved to different component, but in my URL, nothing is changed. I have moved to this component based on my action. So now in this component, you can see question is taken from the API and all the four options are displayed. Along with that, I am having progress bar. I am having number of questions. In total, I am having 10 questions and I am inside my first question. Then we are having points. So in total, 70 points. Currently, I have not answered anything and my default score is 0. And here we are having this timer. And if you notice here, my progress bar is empty. Why? Because I have not selected any answer. So now what I will do? I will just select some random answer. I will give here props. So now prop is the wrong answer for this question. So once I select the answer, all the wrong answers will be displayed with different background color and the right answer will also be displayed. You can see once I give the answer, my progress bar will be increased. Still, a timer is going on. My points are not increased because I have given the wrong answer. Now, as soon as I select the answer, my buttons will be disabled. Again, I will not be able to click on any buttons. Once I have given the answer, next button will be activated. So this is another component where we are going to display our button. Now I will click on next button. I will come here. Now I am inside second question. My point is 0. My timer is still going on. And here my progress bar is here. Now I'm just going to select the correct answer. Which keyword is used to define constant in React? I will select this. Now you can see correct answer is displayed. Next button is displayed. My progress bar is increased and also I got 5 points. Again, I will click on next. Now here inside this, what I will do again, I will be selecting the correct answer. Now I am inside third question. Click on this. Now if you see on this point, you can see I am having 15. Previously I was having 5. Now I am having 15. Why? Because for each and every question in our API, I have given different point. So if the answer is correct for that question, that points will be added. Again, next button will be activated. But if you see here, our timer is running. Again, I will click on next. Here I will be selecting some data. Click on this, click on next. Again select, click on next, select, click on next. I just want to come to 10th question. Now here, this is my 10th question. As soon as I click on this, but before that you can see my timer is running. As soon as it becomes 0, so once the timer completes, I will be redirected to final component where I will be having this message. Thank you for completing the quiz. And based on the marks, I will be having different emoji and different message. And also I will have you have scored 40 points out of 70 points and also percentage will be displayed. And now current high score is 40 because I have scored 40. So 40 will be set as current high score. Later, when I restart the quiz, if I am having more points than 40, then that point will be set as high score. But here I am having one button to restart my quiz. As soon as I click on this, again I will be redirected to first screen. Again I will click on this. Now I will be showing you one more feature, and this time we are going to select the correct answer so that our new high score will be set. Here I will select keys, click on next button, const, click on next, render, click on next, front end, next. Then we are having this. Then for this, I will be selecting state. Then use effect. You can see accordingly my progress bar is increased. Now I have scored 45, which is greater than my high score. Now I am just going to select random options. Click on this. Click on next. Click on this. Click on next. Now here I am inside 10th question and my progress bar is here. As soon as I select the answer, you can see what happens. My progress bar is completed. I am having 10 out of 10, and also here instead of next button, I am having finish button. And we have already seen when a timer goes to 0, we are going to move toward thank you screen. And here I am having finish button. As soon as I click on this finish button, again I will be redirected to same screen. And now if you see here, I will be having different emoji along with different message. Whatever points I have got, that points will be displayed. And now you can see new high score is set to 60 points. And also percentage is calculated. Now again if you restart the quiz and if you score below 60, then 60 will be your high score. That new value will not be set as high score. So now everything is working fine, but we are having two more features, that is loading and error. When my data is getting fetched from the API, there will be some loading indicator. But as we have created our own fake API, so this is very soon. So what I will do to show that loading and error component, I'm just going to come here and I'm just going to quit my JSON server. Now I have quit. Refresh this. Now you can see I am having this loading question. Now because I have stored my JSON server, this error component will be displayed. Again I will refresh. You can see it is trying to load the question, but my JSON server is stopped, so I am not able to fetch the API from server. So that is the reason this error component will be displayed. I'll come here again. I'm just going to start my JSON server. Now I will refresh this. You can see I had a slow indicator, but after that my app is running fine. This is our complete project demo. In this, you will be learning lots of concepts which will help you in your React journey as well as in your Redux journey. So if you're excited about this project, mention your thoughts in the comment section and let me know what you like in this project. Let us now start with creating a React app and understanding the file structure. Along with that, whatever files we are going to create in this project, we will be creating all the files. So once we start with writing the code, we are going to have all the files with us. So here I have created one folder, React Quiz App. Accordingly, you can give any name, right click, open with code. I am just going to open my editor. I will close this. Now here inside this, I am having this folder open. Now I am going to open my terminal, shortcut Ctrl J, and inside this I will be writing the command to install React app. So here I will write npx create hyphen react hyphen app, and after this we have to give our app name. So here I will write React quiz. Do not give in capital letters, only use lowercase letters. Now I will hit enter. Now it is going to install all the packages which is required to run our React application. Now you can see our folder React quiz is created, and inside that I am having package.json, and accordingly once entire packages are installed, I will be having my complete structure. So it will take some time. I am just going to forward this video. So now all the packages are installed and also my React app is ready. So first step, what we have to do, we have to come inside our React app. So for that, we have to use this command. So here I will write cd. I just want to change my directory. Space, and here I will write React quiz. Hit enter. Now next what I have to do, I have to run this application by using this npm start. So here I will write npm start. Hit enter. Now it is going to start my development server and my React app will be started. And by default, it will be running in port 3000. And this is my default React app. And when I click on this, I will be redirected to official documentation of React. Let me click. You can see this is the official documentation of React. If you get stuck at any point, you can refer this documentation. I will close. I will close this terminal. If you close, then also no issues. Our React app will be running. So now, first let us clean our file structure. Inside this public folder, I only want this index.html. Rest all the files I am going to delete. I will select this. Use Ctrl to select multiple files. Right click and delete. All the files will be deleted. Come here, and inside this index.html, I will be changing this title. I will give here the React quiz room. Save. Now you can see here our title is changed to React quiz room. I will close this file. Now I do not want this git ignore, as well as I do not want this package log.json. I'm just going to delete. But I need this package.json because whatever packages we are going to install, all the dependencies will be present inside this file. Now I will come to src folder. I do not want this file index.css. I do not want this. All these files I will be selecting, right click and delete. I will be pasting my own styling. I will select remove entire code. Come to app.js. From here, I will remove entire thing. Instead, I'm just going to do default export. Here I will write function app, and inside this I will be writing return. Then simply I'm just going to write hello. Now I will come inside index.js. From here I will remove this import, as well as I'm just going to remove this import. Then from here I will clean entire thing. Now you can see here hello is displayed. Why? Because inside app.js I have only printed hello. Inside app.js I have only given this hello, and rest entire thing we have cleaned. I will close all the files. Now what I want, I'm just going to create the files which are important for our project. So inside src, I will be creating one folder. I will give the folder name as components. You can directly create all the files inside src folder, but to give proper structure, we are simply creating one folder components. Inside this, I will write header.js, first file. Second, I will be writing quiz main.js. Then I am going to create question.js. Then I will be creating option.js. Then for loading, I will be creating loading.js. Then for error, I will be writing error.js. Then for next button, I will be creating one more file, next button.js. And finally, for last screen, I'm going to create one more file, that is nquiz.js. So in total, I have created 8 files, and accordingly, I have to render this different components based on user action. So before starting with our code, first make sure you have created all the files so that you can follow me in this tutorial. Now I'm just going to open app.css, and inside this I will be pasting entire styling. Accordingly, you can give your own stylings. Let us start with building our static structure. So in this, we are going to create static structure for each and every component. Before starting with the code, let us understand the structure for each and every component. So here I am having header component. Inside that, I am going to display one container in which I will be having heading, one paragraph to display this total question, and finally I am having button. So first let us create this header component. So from this components folder, I am just going to open header.js. And in all the components, I have just written this basic boilerplate where I am just doing export default of this component. I will remove this entire thing. Instead, I will write section. For this, I will give the class as welcome. Then below that, I will be writing h1. Then here I will write welcome to the quiz. Then again below that, I will be creating one paragraph. Here I will write total questions, and by default I will give the value as 3. Okay, later on while fetching the data from API, we are going to display dynamic data here. And finally, I will be creating button, and inside this I will pass the text as start quiz. Save it. Now to see the output on my screen, what I have to do, I have to render this header inside app.js. I will remove this. Instead, I'm just going to write header. As soon as I select on this, header component will be imported from components folder. I will save. Come here. Now you can see successfully I am able to display my header where I am having heading, I am having paragraph, as well as I am having button. So if you want to render each and every component inside app.js, you can render and you can see the result. But in this project, based on the user action, we are going to display different data. So let me just keep this. I will close. Now I'm just going to open quizmain.js. So here in this project demo, this will be the part which will come inside this quiz main component. And inside this, we are having 3 sections: to display question, to display points, and to display timer. So for this timer, we have to write lot of logic. So here for this timer, I will be creating separate component, that is timer component. So let us work on quiz main component, and then we are going to work on timer component. From here, I will remove this div. Instead, I am just going to give section. For this, I will give the class as quiz. Inside this, I will create div, and here I am just going to give the class as progress-container. Inside this, I am just going to write this progress element. Then below this progress container, I will be creating another div, and for this, I will give the class as progress info. Inside this, I will be writing span. Directly, I am just going to pass the text. By default, I will be passing this value. Then I will be writing paragraph. Here I am just going to write points. And inside this span, I will be giving the points. Here I will write 35/70. Finally, I am just going to create span. Here I will be writing time. And by default, I will be giving 3 seconds. Save it. Now what I will do, inside this app.js, I'm just going to render this quiz main.js. I will remove this header. Instead, I will be selecting this quiz main. Click on this. This component will be imported and I will just remove this header import. Save it. Come here. Now you can see I am having question, I am having points as well as timer is displayed. So for this question, I will be adding the classes. Let me come. So here for this span, I will give the class name. Here I will give question count. Save it. Now you can see class has been applied. And for this timer also, I will be giving the class name is equal to timer. Save. Come here. Successfully stylings are given. Now what I want for this timing, we should be writing lot of logic. So what we can do, we can create separate component for this timer. So from here, I'm just going to copy this entire span, and in our last lecture, we have not created component for timer. So inside this components folder, I will be writing timer.js. Then here I will be writing export default function, my function name timer. Inside this, I will write return. Simply, I'm just going to pass entire span. Now what I want, this timer, I just want to render inside quiz main. In place of this, I just want to render my timer component. So here, I will be writing timer, and here I am having /timer. As soon as I click on this, timer component will be imported. I will close, save it. Come here, again you can see I am having the same result. Now let us work on this question component. Inside this question component, I am having 4 different options. So what I will do, for this 4 different option, I will be creating another component, that is options component. I will close this, and also I'm just going to close. Instead, I'm just going to open my question.js. In the same div, I will be giving the class is equal to question container. And inside this div, I will write h2, and here I'm just going to give the class as question. And as of now, I will write sample question number 1. Later on, from API, we are going to fetch the data and we are going to display the question from API. Then below this h1, I will be creating div, and for this div, I will give the class as options. Inside this, I'm just going to write the button, and in total, I just want to display 4 options. So I will be creating 4 buttons. And for each button, I will give the class as option. Hit enter. I'm just going to format this. And here I will write option 1, copy. Here I will paste. And accordingly, I'm just going to change the number. Save it. Now what I will do, I will come to app.js. Now instead of quiz main, I will be writing my question component. Click on this, and from here, I'm just going to remove this import. Save. Come here. Now you can see successfully I am able to display the question. Along with that, I am having 4 options. But what I want, for these 4 options, I just want to create separate component. So this entire thing, I'm just going to copy entire div container, and I'm just going to open options.js. Inside this, I'm just going to paste my entire div container. Now what I want, this options, I want to render inside question.js. I will save. Come here. Now in place of this, I just want to render this option. I will write here options. Click on this. This options will be imported. Now save it. Come here. Again, we are going to have the same result. Now we are going to work on this button, and for this we have already created next button component. And similarly, we are having finish button, and this finish button will also be included inside this next button component. I will close and also I'm going to close. Instead, I will open this next button.js. And here I will create div, and for this I will give the class as navigation buttons. Inside this I will write button. For this I will give the class as next. I am going to pass the text as next. Below that I will be creating button. For this I will give the class as finish. Inside this I will pass the text as finish. Now I am not going to render inside app.js, but later on, based on the user action, we just want to display these buttons. Then next we are having this enquiz component where we have to display entire content. We have to display this emoji message. Accordingly, we have to display this entire text and button. Let us start with enquiz component. I will close. Now I'm just going to open this enquiz component. I will remove this entire thing. Instead, I'm just going to write section, and for this I will give the class as completion. Here I will write h2 and I'm just going to pass the text as thank you for completing the quiz. Below that I will be writing span, and inside this by default I will be passing this emoji, and after that I will write you did well. Again here I will be creating paragraph. For this I will give the class as result. Inside this I will write use code. Then I am just going to write this strong tag. Here I will write 20. Here I will write out of 70. Then and your percentage is inside this bracket. I just want to display the percentage. Okay, simply use code 20 out of 70 and your percentage is. So in simple terms, I have displayed this. Finally, below this, I will be creating one paragraph. For this, I will give the class as high score. And inside this parenthesis, I'm just going to write high score. Colon, here I will write 65 points. Let me just give here capital S, and below this I will be creating button, and for this button I will give the text as restart quiz. Okay, inside this end screen I have created section in which I am having heading, I am having span to display the emoji and message, I am having paragraph to display my total score and percentage. Then I am having paragraph to display the high score, and finally I am having button to restart my quiz. Let us see how this component is looking. I will come inside app.js, and here I will be writing end quiz. That component is imported. Save it. Come here. Now you can see successfully I am able to display that component. And finally, we are left with loading component and error component. Let us write the code. I will close this. Now from here, I'm just going to open loading.js. Inside this, I will give the class. Class is equal to loader container. And below this, I will be creating one more div. For this, I will give the class as loader. I do not want to add any content inside this, because using this loader, we are just going to create our spinner. And for that, I have already given entire CSS styling. If you do not want to give that spinner, simply you can write the text. Here I will write loading questions. Save it. Now I'm just going to open error.js. Inside this, remove entire thing. I will write paragraph, and for this I will give the class as error. Then inside this paragraph, I will be writing span, and here I'm just going to add this prohibited emoji. And here I will write the message something went wrong. Please try again later. Okay. Successfully, we have written static structure for all the component. This entire component structure should be ready. So once we start with our application, based on different action, we want to display this different components. Let us now start with understanding our project model. And this is one of the important lecture of this entire project. And as already mentioned, in this entire project, we are going to master useReducer hook. So inside our useReducer, we are going to have reducer function and our initial state. So inside initial state, we are going to pass the default state, and based on the actions we trigger inside the reducer function, we are going to update our state, and accordingly, we are going to return new state. So initially, what we will do, inside this initial state, we are going to pass the property quiz question, and for this, we are going to assign the default value as empty array. Why we are assigning empty array? Because we are going to use API, and from that API, we need to fetch the data. So initially, we will not have any data. Initially, our questions will be loaded inside the background. And during that time, we are not going to have any data. So once successfully, if we have fetched the data from our API, then we are going to update this quiz question, and accordingly, inside that, we are going to pass this array of object. And here, each object will be representing one question data. So inside that, we are going to have question, then we are going to have our fourth option, and then we are going to have the property where it will mention what option is correct. Also, we will be having points property. So each object will be having one question data. Later on, we are going to loop through this data, and we are going to render on a screen. So this is how we are going to create our initial state. First, we are not going to have any data. So that is the reason we will pass empty array. Later on, as soon as we get the data, we are going to update our state, and accordingly, we will be passing our data inside this quiz question property. But in this project, what I want to do, I just want to render different components based on user action. If I click on start quiz, only then I should be moving to quiz component, and accordingly, I should be displaying my progress bar. I should display the question along with option, and also once the answer is selected, I should display the next button. So first what happens, my data will be fetched from the API. So that means our data is getting loaded. So in that case, what I want to do, I just want to render my loading component. If I am having any error, or if I have not started my JSON server, then what I have to do, I have to render this error component. If everything is ready and successfully, if I have fetched the data, then what I want to do, I just want to display my header component. Inside that, we are having start quiz. So as soon as I click on start quiz, my quiz will be activated, and once my quiz is active, I just want to render my quiz main component where I will be having progress bar. Then I want to display my question component, and once I select the answer, then I have to display my next button. So after that, if I am in the last question, then I want to display finish button, and once it is finished, what I want to do, I just want to render this end quiz component. So here I am having different status, and based on this different status, I want to render different components. So what we can do, inside this initial state, we can pass properties for all the state. Is loading, is error, is active, is ready, is finished, and accordingly we can pass default values. But now the valid question is, for each and every different status, do we really need to create separate property and add inside initial state? The answer is no. Why? Because in this project, we are going to use useReducer. using which we can write a code in simple way. So here, for each and every status, instead of creating separate property inside initial state, what we can do, we can create only one property, and by default, our data will be loaded from API. So here, default value, I am just going to set as loading. And later, inside the reducer function, we are going to update our status, and based on the status value, we are going to render different components. So here we are having status is equal to loading, status is equal to error, status is equal to ready, status is equal to active, and status is equal to finished. So inside this reducer, we are only going to update our status, and based on the status value, we are going to render different components. So for example, if my status is loading, then inside this app component, I only want to render this loading component. Apart from this loading component, I do not want to render any component. So once this loading component is rendered inside app component, only this loading component will be visible. So no matter how many components I am having in my project, it is not going to render any component. Why? Because my status is loading. Once this condition is true, I only want to render this loading component. And if I am having any error, then what I will do, I am just going to update my status to error. And once my status is error, inside this app component, I only want to render this error component. Then if my status is ready, once entire data is fetched, then what I will do, I am just going to update my status to ready. Once it is ready, inside this app component, I am just going to render this header component where I will be having welcome screen, and also inside that I will be having start quiz button. Once I click on start quiz, my status will be updated to ready. Once my status is ready, inside app component, I just want to render this quiz main component and question component. Inside this quiz main, we are having a timer component, and inside this question component, we are having this options component. So once our status is ready, this entire thing will be visible. And after that, once I click on the option, let it be correct or wrong, I just want to display my next button. After that, once I have successfully completed my quiz, after that, once I reach to last question, in that I will be selecting the option. Once I select the option, what I want to do, I just want to update my status to finish. Once my status is updated to finished, what I want to do, inside my app component, I just want to render this end quiz component where I will be having my score displayed, where I will be having emoji displayed along with the text, as well as my percentage will be calculated. And inside this end quiz, again, I will be having button to restart my quiz. Once I click on restart quiz, again what I will do, I'm just going to update my status to ready. Again, entire process will be repeated. So this is the entire logic you should understand before starting with the code. Once you have this mental model, then it will be easy for you to get started with the project, and also easily you will be able to understand flow of the project. So now let us start with creating our API. So for that, we should understand what is JSON server. So this JSON server is nothing but it is a tool which will allow us to create full fake REST API with zero coding. You don't have to master any coding if you want to create your fake API. And this is useful for prototyping, testing, or creating simple backend for your React application. So to create your fake API, you should follow this step. First, you should install JSON server, and in terminal, you will be running this command npm install -g, which stands for global, and I want to install my JSON server. So previously, if you have already installed globally, then again you do not have to install. You can simply ignore this command. And to check whether our JSON server is installed or not, you can check the version by using this JSON-server-version command. So once you give this command, you will be having version number for JSON server. If successfully, if you got some number, that means JSON server is installed on your system. If not, then again you can install JSON server by running this command. And after that, you have to start JSON server by using this command JSON-server watch. You have to watch db.json. You can create any file name. You are watching this file and you are running on this port, that is 8000. So one by one, let us follow the step and start creating our fake API. So first, I will open terminal. I'm just going to click on this plus, which will open new terminal, because inside this we are running a React app. Now I have opened new terminal. First, what I will do, I will just check whether my server is installed or not. So JSON-server-version. Hit enter. Now I got some number, which means JSON server is already installed on my system. If you have already installed, you can simply ignore. If you have not installed, you have to run this command npm install -g, then JSON-server. So this will install JSON server globally. You can write I or you can mention install. As of now, I have installed. So again, I will not be running that command. Next, what I have to do, I just have to watch my JSON server. So for that, first we have to create our file. Inside this main folder, I will be writing db.json. And inside this file, you should be adding some data. But if you are not adding any data, let's see what happens. Here, I will be writing JSON-server, then --watch. Then what I have to do, I just have to watch my db.json. You can give any file name, space, then --port, and here I will give default port number as 8000. Now as soon as I hit enter, you will see no endpoints found. Why? Because we do not have any data inside db.json. I will close. So here what I will do, here I am having empty object. So this is nothing but JSON file. So we have to add data in JSON format. So here I will write quiz question colon. Then inside this I will be passing array, and each question will be represented as one object. So here I am going to pass object. Inside this first property, I am going to pass question. Inside this, simply I am just going to type the question. Each and every property we have to separate by comma, and below this, if you are not adding any property, then simply remove this comma. But if you want to add some property, then keep this comma. And here I will be adding options. And for options, I will be passing array. And inside this array, I will be passing 4 values. You can see inside this options, I have passed keys, refs, states and props. Then below that, I will be creating another property. Here I will write correct answer. So inside this correct answer, I will be giving index of the answer. And we already know array is 0 based. So here correct answer is nothing but keys. So inside array, for this keys, we are having index as 0. So here I am going to pass 0. Then finally, for each and every question, I will be giving points. And for this question, I will give 5 points. So this is the structure. Now, first I am going to open terminal. Now, as soon as I save this file, you can see endpoint is created. And now I am having this question. Now what I want, I just want to open this link. Press Ctrl and click on this link. That link will be opened, and inside that you can see I am having entire structure which I have defined in this file. So this entire data is displayed on this URL. So here I am having array, and inside that I am having object. So whatever data I have given, successfully I am able to render entire data inside one array. So you can see this is our question, which is nothing but array. Inside that array we are having object. So same data is displayed inside our array. We are having object, and inside this object we have passed properties and values. So this entire data we have displayed in JSON format. Now I have already created question, and for each and every question I have added all the options as well as all the properties. Now simply I am going to copy and paste all the question. If you want to add another question, separate by comma, create object, and inside this you have to pass same structure. But now what I have done, whatever questions I have created, entire questions I have pasted along with options. Now I'll come here, refresh this one. Now you can see successfully I am able to get all the question along with answer. And for each and every question, we are having different index value for correct answer, as well as different points are displayed. For this we have 10, for some we have 5, for some we have 5. So in that way, I am just going to render my points. But now, most of the time, what happens whenever we are creating this fake API, each and every time we are not going to run the command to watch our JSON server. Let me show you. Open new terminal. Okay, each and every time we will not be using this command to watch our JSON server. Instead, what we will do directly, we are going to modify our package.json file. I will copy this entire command, close this, open package.json, and here inside this we are having scripts. And if you have already noticed, to start a React app, we will use npm start. So similarly, what I will do, inside the script, I will be adding one more property. So now we are working with fake API. So here I will be writing server colon, and inside this I'm just going to pass my entire command, that is JSON hyphen server hyphen watch db.json hyphen port, and I have given my port number. So whatever file you have created, accordingly you have to pass that file name. Save this package.json, open terminal, delete this. Now what I will do, I'm just going to exit my JSON server. Control C, come here, refresh this. Now nothing will be displayed. You can see my JSON server has stopped, and here I am having this site cannot be reached. But now instead of using this command, what I will do, I am just going to make use of this server. I will remove entire thing. To start a React app, we have used npm start. But here to start this JSON server, here I will write npm run, then I'm just going to mention server. So whatever name you have passed here, that name you have to mention. So npm run server. Hit enter. Again you can see successfully I am able to get this endpoint. So what I have done, directly inside package.json, I have updated my scripts. Again, press Ctrl, click on this link. Again, successfully, I am able to fetch all the question, and I am able to display inside this URL. Now I will close this. So this is very important step you have to follow, because from this API itself, we are going to fetch all the question and we are going to render on a screen. So now let us start with fetching our API data. Successfully, we have created our fake API on a fake server. So now what we want to do, we just want to fetch this data so that we can render the data on screen. Now the question is, when do we need to fetch the data? So we want to load the data when our application is being mounted, which means as soon as my application is loaded, I just want to start fetching my data. So I'm just going to come inside app.js, and here I have rendered this end quiz. So in my project, I will be having that component. So what I will do, I do not want to render anything. I will simply remove, and also I'm just going to remove this import. Instead, I will simply pass empty div. Now here I am not having anything. Now what I just want to fetch my fake API data. So for that, again, we are going to use our use effect hook. So here I will be writing use effect. As soon as I hit enter, this hook will be imported from React library. Inside this, we are going to pass two arguments. First will be the callback function, and second, we are going to pass dependency array. So here I'm just going to write function, first argument, and then second, I will be passing dependency array. As of now, I do not have any dependency. So here simply I'm just going to give empty array. So basically, if I just want to fetch only once, here I will not be passing any value inside this dependency array. Now here inside this, we are going to write the code to fetch our API data. So you can use async await, you can use Axios, but let us now use simple fetch function. Single quotes, and inside this, I'm just going to pass this link, copy and paste. Because inside this link itself, we are having our entire API data. Then it is going to return promise. As of now, we are considering we have successful promise. So that promise we are going to handle using then method. And here, whatever response we are getting, entire thing we are just going to convert using JSON method. And again, it is going to return promise. Finally, now we will be having our data. So again, we are going to use then method, and inside this we will pass data, and here simply we are just going to log this data. And from here, I will remove this semicolon. Save it. Come here. Come to this project. Inspect this. Now here, if you see, I am having array of 10. If I open successfully, I am able to fetch entire API data, and I am able to display on my console. Then finally, if I am having any error, here I will catch inside this catch method. Then here I will be passing error object, and simply as of now I am just going to display error. Save it. Come here, refresh this. Now successfully I am able to fetch the data. So whatever data I am having in my API, I am able to display in console. But if I am having some error inside this link, let me just remove this colon. Save it. Come here. Refresh this. Now you can see this error is displayed. So if I am not able to fetch any data, directly I will come inside this catch method and error will be handled. Let me just put back that colon. Save it. Come here. Refresh this. Successfully, I am able to fetch entire API data and display on console. So now what we want, whatever data we are having inside console, we just want to render that data on screen. So what we are doing, we are just updating some data on screen. So basically what we are doing, we are just updating our UI. So whenever we are updating our UI, we need piece of state. But in this project, if we use useStateHook to manage the state, then entire thing becomes complex, and for each and everything we have to create lot of state variables. Instead, we are going to use useReducer hook, and inside one central place we are going to manage entire state, and based on different status value we are going to render our components. Finally, let us start with our useReducer hook. Now here, successfully, we are able to fetch our API data and we are able to display on console. Now, this entire data we should display on screen. So what we will do, we are going to use our state, that is nothing but useReducer hook. So here, below this function, here I will be writing useReducer. As soon as I click on this, useReducer will be imported from React library. And this useReducer will be taking two arguments. First is a reducer function, and then we are having our initial state. And in return, this reducer will be giving array which immediately we are going to destructure. Inside this, first I will be passing state, then I'm just going to write dispatch. So this is the convention which most of them must follow. If you want, you can give different names. Now above this, I will be creating my initial state. Below this, I will write const initial state, and this state will be an object. Inside this, what I have to pass initially, once my data is being fetched, I will not be having any question. Only once my data is fetched, I will be having all the question. So here I will be creating my state quiz question, and for this I will assign empty array. Why empty array? Because here inside this I am having array of object, and in total I am having 10 elements inside the array. Initially I will not be having any object, which means I am having empty array. So that is the reason default value I have set as empty array. Now once I have my entire data, instead of displaying in console, what I want to do, I just want to dispatch action. Once the action is dispatched, accordingly, I have to fetch the data, and this entire state has to be updated. So let me show you. Let me keep this console as well. I will open curly braces, and here I will close curly brace. And here I am going to write my dispatch function. Inside this, we are going to pass action, and that action is nothing but an object. So here I will be passing object. Then I will write type. I will give the type as fetch underscore success. Okay, this is the type, and inside this reducer function, based on this action, we are going to update our state. But inside this action, we can also pass multiple properties. So here we are having our data. So this data we should be passing inside payload property. Again, this is the convention. You can give any name for this payload. But here I am going to give payload, and inside that I have passed my entire array of object, which is having 10 object inside this array. Save it. Come here. Now I will be having this error. Reducer is not defined. So first let us create a reducer. So above this I will write function reducer, and this reducer will be taking our current state and an action as its argument. And this reducer will be taking current state and action as its parameter. So here I will be writing state, then I'm just going to give action, open this, and here what I will do, I will be writing switch statement. Inside this, I will be passing the expression as action.type. Why action.type? Because inside this dispatch, we are passing entire action, and inside that we are having type property. So here inside this expression, I am passing action.type. Why? Because inside this reducer, we are passing our action, which is nothing but entire object. Now what I want to do, I only want to check for this type. So here I am writing action.type, because whenever we want to access any properties from object, we are going to use dot operator. Then here I will write case, and first case will be this fetch success. Copy and paste. So inside reducer function, what we are going to do, based on this action, we are going to return our new updated state. We are not going to mutate our original state. Instead, we are going to return new updated state. Why we are returning new updated state? Because our reducer is pure function. So here I will write return, and what I have to return? I have to return object. Why? Because our initial state is object. Inside this, what I will do? I just want to update this quiz question property. I will copy and here I will be pasting. So what I'm doing? I'm just returning new state. So now inside this quiz question, what I want to do? I just want to get this data, and this data is present inside action. Inside action, we are having this payload property. So I'm just going to access action, and from that action, I just want to access payload property. So here I will be using dot operator. Now save it. Come here, refresh this. Nothing will be displayed. But now here what happens? Successfully, if I am getting the data, this dispatch will be triggered along with this action. So now inside this reducer function, what we are doing? We are just returning new state, and inside that we have updated our quiz question. Now inside this, what we got? We are having array of object. So by default, we have set as empty array. Now after getting this data, this quiz question will be having this entire data in this structure, and each and every object will be having our question data, and this question data we are getting from our API. So at this point, our quiz question property is updated, and in this way we are going to have this structure. But now what I want, when my data is getting loaded, I just want to render my loading component. So here inside this initial state, I will be writing status, and for this I'm just going to give the value as loading. Simply I have passed a string, and we have already seen why we are passing in this way, because we don't have to create separate properties for each and every different status. Instead, we are going to pass status is equal to loading, and accordingly we are going to update the status value inside our reducer. So this is the simple trick. It has nothing to do with useReducer. So now once my data is fetched successfully, what I want to do, I just want to change my status value to ready. I will just separate by comma. Here I will be writing status, and for this I will give the value as ready. Okay, that's it. Once I have fetched the data, what I am doing, I am fetching all the data, storing inside this property, and I am just changing my status value to ready. So only with this one dispatch, what I have done, I have updated both these properties. But in future, what happens? Our application will be growing, and we will be adding more properties inside this initial state. So for safer side, whenever we are returning, what we will do? First, we are going to make copy of our initial state, and accordingly, whatever properties we want to update, we are just going to update that properties. So to make copy, we are going to use spread operator, and then I will be passing this state separate by comma, and this state is nothing but entire object. So entire thing will be copied, and from that I am just updating my quiz question, and here I am updating my status. Suppose below this later I will be having points property, and here I have given 0. So in this case what happens? Entire state will be copied, and we are only updating quiz question property and status property. So here in this case our point will not be updated, and it will remain 90. So that is the reason, first thing we have to copy entire object, and whatever properties we want to update, accordingly we have to pass that properties. Now I will remove these points. Save it. Come here, refresh this. Close. Now you can see nothing is rendered. Now what I want, whenever my status is loading, what I want to do, I just want to render loading component. And we have already seen we are having different status values. So here above this, I'm just going to mention all those values. Here I will write status. And first we are having loading. When we are having loading, what we have to do? We have to render our loading component. Then second, we are having this error. If we are having any error, then we have to render this error component. Third, if our status is ready, what we want to do? We just want to render our header component where our start quiz button will be displayed. Then fourth, if our status is active, then I have to render my quiz main component. I have to render my question component as well as I have to render my next button. And this next button will be displayed only when I click on the answered. And finally, fifth, when a status is finished, what I want to do? I just want to render my end quiz component. So these are the different status values, and according to this different status value, we want to render this component. Now what I want to do? Initially, my status is loading. But before that, as soon as I fetch my data, what I have done, I have just updated my status to ready. So here I will come down. I'm just going to remove this entire div. Here I will be entering JavaScript mode. Here I'm just going to write state.status because from this state I'm just going to access my status property and I am checking if my status, if it is equal to ready, then what I will do, I just want to render my header component. Here I will be writing short circuiting and inside this I'm just going to pass header. Now here if you see we are having error. Why? Because directly inside return we are writing our JavaScript mode. So what I will do here, I will be writing React fragment. You do not have to create separate div. Instead you can only pass this React fragment. So when my status is ready, then I want to render my header component. Once I have this header, I simply want to import header. Here I will write import header from, I will come inside this components folder and from here I just want to import header. So initial value is loading, but after fetching the data, what we have done, we have updated our status value to ready. And here what we are doing, once our status is ready, we are simply rendering our header component. Now here I am going to come, you can see successfully my data is fetched and I am able to display this header. Why? Because as soon as my data is fetched, I am just triggering this action. Inside that, I am having fetch success. Inside this reducer, this will be matched and it is going to return our next stated state. And here what we have done, we have just updated our status value to ready. Now I am just going to inspect this. You can see successfully we have fetched the data. So that is the reason we are having this header component. But now how you will get to know the status value? Simply open this React DevTools. I will open this component. I will come inside this app. Now I'm just going to open Reducer. Inside this you can see our status value is changed to ready. Again I will refresh. First it will be loaded. It is loading very fast. So that is the reason loading is not displayed. But here if you see, as soon as my data is fetched, I am having status value to ready. And inside this quiz question, you can see entire array of object will be passed. But now each and every time writing state.status will be very difficult. So what we will do, we are just going to destructure our state. So how we will do, we are going to write const And while destructuring, we are going to pass exact same property name. So here I will write quiz question. Then here I will be writing status. And from where I got from state object. Now directly I have destructured all the properties. Now instead of writing state.status, I can simply write status. Again save it. Come here. Refresh this. Again inside this app component. Successfully I have fetched the data. So this quiz question is updated as well as my status value is updated. Let us now handle our loading and error status. So successfully we have rendered our header component as soon as our status is ready. Now what we want to do, initially our status is loading. So that time we have to render this loading component. So again I will come down. Above this I will be opening JavaScript mode. Inside this I will write status is equal to loading. If this is equal to loading, then what I have to do? I just have to render this loading component. I will close. Once I am having this loading component, I just have to import that component. So here I'm just going to copy. Here I will write loading as well as here I'm going to pass loading. I will come here, refresh this. Now you can see as soon as my data is fetched successfully, I have updated my state value to ready. So that is the reason loading component is not visible. Why? Because this fetching is very fast. But here manually I'm just going to change the status and here I will write loading. Hit enter. You can see loading component is rendered and I am having this loader as well as the paragraph which we have given in our static structure. But here as soon as I refresh successfully, I will be having the data and my status is updated to ready. So that is the reason my header component is displayed. But if you are fetching the data from different APIs, then it will take some time to load. Then easily you can see the loading component. But here, let me just change it to loading. Hit enter, close this. You can see here I will be having this loading component. Now as soon as I refresh, my status is changed to ready. So that is the reason this header component is displayed. But now what I want, if I am having some error, instead of logging the error to the console, what I want to do, I just want to dispatch action. So here I will remove this console. Instead, I'm just going to pass dispatch and here I will be passing action. And I do not want to get any data inside the payload. Simply, I will be passing type and here I will write fetch error. I will copy this fetch error. For this, I am going to create new case. Here I will be writing case. Now I will be passing this fetch error. Inside this, what I just want to update my status property to error. But before that, we have to copy entire state. Why? Because inside our state, we are having two properties, quiz question as well as status. But here, what I am doing, I am only updating my status property. So first, I have to copy my state. Copy and paste. Then after that, I will write status. And here, I am just going to change the value to error. So once my status is error, what we have to do? We have to render our error component. And if our status is loading, we have to render our loading component, which we have completed. Now let us work on this error component. So if I am having any error, my status value is updated to error as well as I have copied my entire object. So once I copy this entire object, initially whatever value I am having for this quiz question, that will be displayed. Now here, let me come. Below this, I will be writing JavaScript mode. Here I will check if my status, if it is equal to error, then what I have to do, I just have to display my error component. Now once I render this component, I will come above. Below this, I just have to import that component. Here I will write error, and here also I will be passing error. Now save it. Come here, refresh this. Now successfully I am having the data. So that is the reason error component is not displayed. I will inspect. I will just open this components. Inside this app, we are having our status, and our status is ready. Now what I will do, I'm just going to change it to error. Hit enter. Now you can see error component is displayed, and whatever content we have passed inside error component, that will be displayed. And here if you notice, inside this quiz question, I am having entire array of object. Why? Because manually I have changed this to error. So what I will do, I will come here. Before that, let me refresh. I will come here and simply I'm just going to remove T from here. Save it. Come here. Now refresh. Now you can see that loading component was displayed. Why? Because it was trying to fetch the data, but what it found the error. So that is the reason this error component is displayed. Now I will open Reducer. Inside this, my quiz question is nothing but empty array, and my status is updated to error. Why it is empty array? Because we have copied entire state, and in our state, our quiz question is nothing but empty array. And there we have only updated our status value to error. Once we are having status to error, we are just rendering this error component. Again, let me refresh. First, it is loading. Loading component will be displayed. And after that, it has found the error. Status value is updated. Accordingly, I will be having this error. I hope you understood this entire logic. And based on this different status value, we are rendering different component. So successfully, we have rendered our error component. So if our status is loading, we are going to render loading component. If our status is error, we are going to render error component. If our status is ready, we are going to render our header component. Now I will just change this. I will give here localhost, save it. Now as soon as I refresh, you can see my status is updated to ready. So that is the reason my header component is displayed. Let us now see how to pass props. So here inside this header component, in place of this static data, I just want to display in total how many questions we are having in our API. But here inside this API, you can see we are already having array of 10 elements. So we are already having the data. So instead of creating separate state for this, using this data itself, we are going to derive our value. So now here I will come inside this app.js. Now inside this quiz question, we are having entire array of object. So now what I will do, I am just going to find the length of my array. So below this, I will be creating one variable. I will write number of questions. This will be equal to my array is nothing but quiz question, and for this I will be using length property. Why I am using length property? Using this length property, I can access number of elements present inside the array. Now here I will write log. Simply display this number of question. Save it. Come here. You can see below this I am having the result 10. Now what I want to do, this 10 I just want to display on my screen. So what we are doing, again we are updating our UI. So whenever we are updating our UI, we have to use our piece of state. But here in this case, we are already having the data. So instead of creating separate state, we have just derived our value. I will remove this console. So now this data is present inside app.js. But this number of question, I just want to render on my header component. Why? Because here, as soon as my status is ready, I am rendering header component. So that is the reason header component is displayed. So now inside this header component, I want to display the value 10. So what we will do, this num questions we are going to pass as a prop to header component. I will copy and here I will be pasting. So easily we can pass the data inside this header component. Why? Because our app is the parent component and this header is the child component. So using props, we can easily pass the data from parent to child component. But inside this, you should pass exact same variable which we have created here. So now inside this header, we are passing our prop, that is nothing but number of question. Now what we have to do, inside this header component, we have to accept the prop. I will open this file. Now here, I will simply write props. Below this, I will write log and then I'm just going to write props. Props is a shorthand for property. I will come here. Now you can see what it has returned. It has returned object. I will refresh once. Now you can see it has returned me object and inside that object I am having number of question for which value is 10. So immediately from this object I can destructure this number of question. So what we have to do? I have to write my object. From that object I'm just going to destructure this number of question. So whatever value we are passing here, exact same value we have to pass it here. So this value inside this curly braces, this should be exactly matching with this variable and this value, whatever we are giving, this should be exactly matching with this. Now here I'm just going to paste number of question, save it. Now you can see successfully I am able to get 10. Again let me refresh. You can see I am able to access 10. Now what I want, this 10 I want to render on my UI. So here this number of question I will be passing inside JSX. I will write curly braces and here I am going to write number of question and I will just remove this console. Save it. Now you can see successfully on my UI I am able to display 10. Why I am able to display 10? Because inside my API I am having 10 object and my length of the array is 10. So that is the reason I am able to display this 10. Understanding how to pass prop is also an important concept in this project. Let us now start with handling our active status and starting our quiz. I will come inside app.js. So what we have to do, whenever our status is active, we have to render all this component. But as of now, we are only going to render our question component. And when our status has to be changed to active, inside this header, we are having the start quiz button. As soon as I click on the start quiz, I just want to update my status value to active. So once my status value is active, I just want to render all this component. But as of now, let us work on starting our quiz and rendering this question component. But now the problem is the button is present inside header.js. So here we are not having useReducer. So we will not be having access to dispatch function. So what we will do, from this app.js, this dispatch we are going to pass as a prop. I will copy this dispatch, come here and inside this header component, I will just bring here, paste dispatch and here I will be passing my dispatch function. For this you can give any name, but inside this we are passing our dispatch function. And inside the prop we can pass normal values as well as we can pass function. Now this header component is having access to dispatch. So what we have to do? We have to accept the prop inside this header. I will come here, separate by comma. Again I'm going to destructure and here I'm just accepting my dispatch. Now here inside this button I will be using this on click event handler. So whenever this button is clicked, what I want to do, I just want to dispatch my action. So here we have to pass callback function and here I will be writing dispatch. Inside this, I will be passing action, and my action is nothing but start. You can give any values for action. Accordingly, inside the reducer, you have to update your status. So as soon as I click on this start quiz, what I am doing, I am just dispatching action with the type start. So what I have to do, once I have dispatched the action inside app.js, inside the reducer, we have to create the case. Here I will write case, then I will be writing start. Then what I have to do, I just have to return next updated state. So here, only thing we have to perform is we have to change our status to active. So again, similarly, first we are going to copy our entire state. After that, as soon as I click on the start quiz button, I am dispatching action with the action type start. So inside reducer, I am just managing that, and here I will change the status value to active. Here I will write colon. You do not have to do anything. First, to get access of dispatch function, we have passed this dispatch function as a prop to header. Why we are passing dispatch function as a prop? Because inside this header, we are having our start quiz button. So as soon as I click on this button, I am just dispatching this action with the type start. And inside this app.js, inside reducer, I am just handling that case. Let me show you. Come here, refresh this. Initially, my status is loading. Once I am having the data, my status is set to ready. Now I'm just going to inspect this. Open components. Now inside this app, you can see I'm having status is ready. But here, as soon as I click on this, you can see my status value is updated to active. Again, let me show you. Refresh. Open this. Initially, my status is ready. It is just going to take some time to update. As soon as I click on this, just wait. My status value is updated to active. But if I do not copy the state, what happens? Let me show you. Copy. I will just refresh this. Open this. As soon as I click on this, I will be having this error. Cannot read properties of undefined reading length. Why I am getting this error? Because I have not copied the state. Directly I have passed the property. So that is the reason. Now inside my state, I will have only one property, that is nothing but status. I will not be having this quiz question. So that is the reason I will not be able to calculate the length. So it is very important. You should always copy the state. Now I will come, refresh this. Again, I will show you the result. Click on this, open reducer. As soon as I click on start quiz, my status will be updated to active. So now, once my status is active, I just want to render all this component. But as of now, let me render this question component. I will just come below this. Again, write JavaScript mode. Here I will write status. If it is equal to active, what I have to do, I just have to render my question component. Here I will write question, close, copy this component, come above, and here import that component. Come, save it. Initially, my status is ready. Again, let me refresh. So now successfully I have fetched the data and my status is ready. I will click on this. Now you can see my status is changed to active, and successfully I am able to render this question component. And inside that I am having all the four options. Why? Because inside this question component we have already rendered our options component, in which we have given all the four options. Let me close. I hope you understood how to handle active state and how to start our quiz. Finally, we are going to see how to display our quiz on UI. So what I want, as soon as I click on the start quiz, I just want to display current question, and based on that, whatever options I have given, I just want to display all the options here, and also I want to display current question. So as of now, let us imagine our current question is present at 0th index. Why? Because inside this array, we are having 10 questions and we have our index which is starting from 0. So now first what we will do, we are just going to render our first question. All the question we are not going to display at the same time. Instead, after answering the first question, only then we are going to proceed with the next question. So that is the reason, as of now, we are only going to display the first question. Later, as soon as I click on the next button, I have to move to next question. So here we are having index 0 until index 9. I am having all these numbers, and based on this index, I am having different question data. Now what I want, if I select index 0, then that particular question and options will be displayed. If I select index 1, then question and options will be displayed. So here what I am doing, based on this index number, we are rendering our screen. So what we have to do, this variable we have to pass as a state. I will come to app.js. This is our initial state. Inside this, I will be passing another property and I will assign the value as 0. You can give any names for the properties, but here I have given index, and for that I have assigned the value 0. Why I am passing inside state variable? Later on, if I change value to 1, whatever question I am having inside index 1, that question has to be displayed. So each and every time, based on this index value change, I am updating my screen and I am displaying different data. So basically, I am just doing re-render of my screen. So that is the reason this index has to be passed inside initial state. So once it is done, second step, from this state, we have to destructure our index. Here, separate by comma, and here I am going to write index. Now below this, I am just going to log index, save it, come here, refresh once, inspect. Now you can see successfully I am able to access 0. So whatever value I have given inside this state, that value will be displayed. Now what I want, this question, whatever we have passed inside our API, that question I have to display on my UI. Let me come here, close it. As soon as I click on the start quiz, my status will be activated and now I am inside this question component. So my question has to be displayed inside question component and all the options has to be displayed inside option component. And my entire array of data is stored inside this quiz question. So this quiz question I'm just going to pass as my prop. And we have already destructured. So I'm just going to copy. And this is our question component. Here I will pass is equal to, here I'm just going to pass that prop. Why I am passing this? Because this quiz question will be having our entire array of objects. If you want to verify, you can just open components, app. Here you can see I am having reducer, and initially once I have loaded the data, my quiz question is updated, and inside that I am having entire array of objects. This entire data is present. But as soon as I click on start quiz, my status is active, and again inside this quiz question, I am having this entire array of objects. So now this data I have passed to my question prop. Why? Because inside that component, I want to display question. And also we are having all this option. First, I'm going to copy and I will open this question component, and inside that I'm just going to accept my prop. But here what happens, if I pass quiz question, entire data will be passed. But I do not want to pass entire data. Instead, I only want to render first question on my screen. So for that, here while passing, I will be giving index 0. So here I am passing index. Why? Because our quiz question is nothing but array, And from that array, I'm just going to access first question. So that is the reason I have passed index, which means quiz question of 0. It is going to give me first object. Now I will come to quiz question. I have accepted the prop. Now here I will write log quiz question. Refresh once. As soon as I click on start quiz, now you can see successfully I am able to access first question, which is having index 0. Now from this object, I just want to access my question. So here I will remove this entire thing. Instead, I am just going to write my object name, that is quiz question dot question. From that object, I just want to access this question. And how this quiz question became object? Because from this array, we are accessing zeroth index, and inside zeroth index, we are having object. So we have accessed the object, and here we are simply displaying our question. I will remove this console, and also from app.js, I'm just going to remove this console. Save it. Now if you see here, let me just decrease the size. As soon as I click on start quiz, successfully I am able to access the first question, what is present inside this zeroth index, and I am able to display here. Same thing. Now here I will just change the index to 1. Come here, click on this. You can see now I am having the question which is present inside that first index. So successfully we have accessed the question and we have displayed on screen. Now what I want, whatever options I am having inside this object, I just want to render that object on screen. So first let me come here. I will change it to 0. Save it. Refresh once. Click on this. I am having my first question. Let me open. And now inside this, I just want to display this option. And this option is nothing but array. So what we can do, we can loop through this array. But before that, inside this question.js, we are having access to this question, which is nothing but an object. Now inside that object, we are having option. So again, this quiz question, we have to pass as a prop. Here I will be passing. Now I will open this file, and inside this we are just going to accept this quiz question. So now using this, I will be having access to entire object, and inside this object we are having all these properties: correct answers, ID, options, points, and question. So successfully I have accessed my entire object, but in this object I only want this options property, which is nothing but array. So here I will be using JavaScript mode. I will be writing my object, and from that object I want to access my options array. So this is going to return me array. Then I will be using map method, and here I am going to pass callback function. Here I will write option arrow function. Now inside this I am just going to copy all the buttons, and here I will be pasting. Let me remove entire thing. But while using this map method, we do not have to pass multiple buttons. Instead, what we will do, we are only going to pass first button, because how many elements we are having inside the array, that many times we are going to loop using this map method. Now I will save it. Come here, you can see each and every time option 1 is displayed. Why? Because 4 times my map method will be looped, and whatever content I am having, that will be displayed. Now this option will be holding our values. So here I am just going to pass option. Why? Because this is our array. Inside that we are having 4 elements. Let me show you. I will open this db.json. Inside this I am having keys, refs, state, and props. First time option will be holding keys will be displayed. Second time it will hold this. Third time it will hold this. And fourth time it will hold this. And accordingly 4 options will be displayed inside this button. Now I am going to save. Come here, you can see successfully I am able to display all the options. And whenever we are using map method, we should always pass the key. and this key has to be unique. So here I will be writing option because options are different in each and every question. So here I am passing option. Again I will refresh. Click on start button. Successfully I am able to access my first question, and whatever options I am having inside that question, I am able to render that option as well. Now here inside this app.js, if I change it to 4, click on this now. So whatever question and options I am having inside fourth index, that value will be displayed. Let me come here. This is 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. You can see which property holds data in a React component. Same question will be displayed, and whatever options we are passing, accordingly that options will be displayed. Okay, let us see what we have done. First, here let me change it to 0. Here we have created one property inside the state. Why? Because whenever we are clicking on next button, we are going to re-render our screen. So that is the reason each and every time we have to update this index value. So here inside this state, we have passed the index value, and here after that we have destructured from state. And now on each and every render, I just have to display one question. So what I will do, using this prop, I'm just passing this first element from my array. So here inside this prop, I'm just passing first element from the array, and this index is 0. So it will be having first element from the array, and this question will be accepted inside this question, and I'm just going to render question. Now this is our entire object. So that object we have to pass inside this options as well. Why? Because in that object itself we are having all the options. Then we are going to accept the prop, and using this map method we are going to loop through this array, and we are displaying all the options on our UI. Let us now work on handling answer options, and I would like to admit this is one of the most confusing lecture, so you should be very much focused to understand this entire logic. So as I mentioned, it is one of the confusing lecture, but still you do not have to worry, because step by step I am going to break all the concept and I will be explaining you, and I am going to go very slow. So now here inside this question, I am having 4 options, and for each option we are having index number. Why? Because this is nothing but our array, and inside array each element will be having index number. And also inside this API we have given correct answer, and whatever answer is correct we have given that index number, and index is nothing but 0 based. So here, as soon as I click on one of the option, what I want to do, I just want to do 4 things. Let me write here. I will come to options. Below this, I will be writing the steps. Okay. As soon as I click on button, this is what it should be happening. First, I want to give different background colors for my correct answer and wrong answer. Second, what I want to do, I just want to update my points. Updating points. So if the answer is correct, whatever point we have given, that point has to be updated. If the answer is wrong, I do not want to update my points. But this will happen only when I click on the answer option. And third, I just want to update number of questions I have completed, and also my progress bar has to be increased. Then finally, fourth, our next button has to be displayed. All these 4 steps will be happening as soon as I click on the answer. And why I have not mentioned timer? Because timer will be starting as soon as we start the quiz. So that is the reason timer will not be rendered in this case. Timer will already be started. But as soon as I click on the answer, I will be having this 4 steps. First, background will be changed for correct answer and wrong answer. I will be having the number for number of questions completed, and also my progress bar will be changed. Then I will be updating my points, and finally I'm just going to render my next button. So in this case, what we are doing, again we are rendering our screen. Based on the answer we are selecting, we are updating our screen. So again, inside app.js, I'm going to create one state variable. I will give the variable as answer. And initially, we will not be having any answer. So here, we will give the value null. Why? Because inside this answer, we can have 0, 1, 2 or 3. So any one of the number we can hold. But initially, we are not having any value. So here, I will be assigning it to null. So once we give any state variable inside this, we have to destructure. Here I will be writing answer. Okay, that's it. Do not get confused. We are going to go very slow. But now, if you see here, this answer options are available inside this options.js. But now, I want to get access to this answer inside option.js. And whenever I click on this button, what I want to do, I want to dispatch new action. And once I click on any one of the option, that index has to be stored inside our answer state. So here inside this option.js, we should get access to this answer as well as we should get access to this dispatch. So these two things we are going to pass as a prop to this question component. And now if you see here, we are passing multiple props, but in future lecture, we are going to see better solution for this. But let me just pass the prop dispatch, which will be equal to this dispatch. And then I will be writing answer prop, which will be having access to my answer prop. This dispatch I am passing from here, and this answer, whatever initial value I have passed here, same value will be assigned to this answer. Now, once I pass the prop, I have to accept the prop inside question.js. Copy, and here I will be pasting. Then again, I'm just going to write answer. Now again, I should be having access to this dispatch and answer inside this options.js. So again, this dispatch and answer, I will be passing as a prop to this options. So here, I will be writing dispatch is equal to dispatch. Then I will write here answer, which will be equal to this answer. Okay, successfully. Now, this option got access to this dispatch function as well as answer. Now next, I have to accept this prop. I will copy, come to this options.js. Here I will be writing dispatch and then I'm just going to write answer. Now successfully, I got access to dispatch and answer inside this option.js. Now what I will do, as soon as I click on button, I'm just going to trigger action. So whenever I click on this button, what I want to do, I just want to dispatch action. So here I will be passing it as a value. I'm going to write dispatch. Inside this, I will be passing action. Type is nothing but I will give here new answer. So as soon as I click on this button, what I want to do, inside my reducer function, I'm going to create the case. Now I will come inside app.js. Below this case, I will be writing case. Then here I will be writing new answer. Inside this, what I want to do, let me just write here. First, I just want to copy my entire state. Then simply, I just want to update my answer property. Now, what answer property I should be giving? Whatever index we are having for these values, that index number has to be passed inside that answer. So now the question is, how do we get access to this index number? Because we are looping through map method. So first time it will be holding value let, second time it will be holding var, third time it will be holding const, and fourth time it will be holding this one. So first 0th index, first index, second index and third index. Now I just want to get access to this index number. So what we can do, inside this map method, we can pass second argument, that is nothing but index. You can give any name So now inside this action, I'm just going to pass payload. And for this payload, I'm just going to assign index. So first time it will hold 0, second time it will hold 1, third time it will hold 2, and fourth time it will hold third index. But now when this index will be assigned, as soon as I click on the button, this action will be triggered. Then I am going to come inside this app.js, and here first I have copied my entire state, and what I want to do, I just want to update my answer property. So here I will be writing action.payload because now my payload is having access to the index number. So that is the reason new value of answer will be that index number of option. Below this, let me log answer. Here I will be writing answer. Save it. Initially what we have given null. Let me come here. Let me just check the spelling. I will just change the spelling from here. Answer. Be very careful with the spellings. Now refresh this. Before that, let me inspect. Now you can see initially we got null. Why? Because when we displayed answer, initial value is null. So that is the reason I got null. I will click on start quiz. My status will be updated, and at this point also my answer is null. But here, as soon as I click on any one of the option, my answer value is updated and I got the index as 2. Why I got 2? Because this is 0, this is 1 and this is 2. So that is the reason I am able to access this index. And how we are getting this index? By passing second argument inside callback function of our map method. Now here I will click on this keys. For this we are having index 0. For reference we are having index 1. For state we have index 2. And for props we are having index 3. And now how I am getting this index? Because inside this option, as soon as I click on this button, I am triggering this action with the type new answer and payload index. And inside app.js, I have passed the case new answer. I have copied my entire state, and inside this answer, I am just updating my payload value. And also you have to write the default case here. Here I will write default. If nothing is there, simply I'm just going to return my state. Again I will refresh. Initially it will be null. Only when I click on this, my answer value will be updated. But now let us work on our first step, that is, once our answer is correct, I have to give different background color for wrong answer and correct answer. So here this is our button. Inside this we have given this class. Now this entire class I will be wrapping inside template literal. So now here we have class. I'm just going to enter into JavaScript mode, and here I will be writing template literal. And inside this now conditionally I'm going to check for the condition, and accordingly I will be displaying correct and wrong class. Now here inside this I'm just going to write the index. So first time index will be 0, second time index will be 1, third time index will be 2, and fourth time index will be 3. So now here I'm just going to check if my index is equal to from this object. Let me just write here quiz question. From this object I just want to access this correct answer property. If this is equal to this quiz question dot correct answer, so if this condition is true, if this entire condition is true, here I will be writing correct colon, I'm just going to display wrong. Okay, first let us see what happens. Now you can see without even clicking my correct answer is displayed. So definitely we have a problem. Let me just refresh. Without even clicking on this, I am able to display this correct and wrong answers. But here let us see what happened. So in total I am having 0, 1, 2 and 3. Okay, these are the index number for all my 4 options. So here now my correct answer is 2. Here I will be writing correct answer, that is nothing but 2. And here as soon as I click on the third option, For third option, my index will be 2. So 2 will be given. This will be equal to, the condition will be checked, and this quiz question is nothing but object. Inside that object, we are having this correct answer property. And from that, if this value is getting matched with this value, then our condition is true. Once our condition is true, we are going to display this class. If the condition is false, we are going to display this wrong class. But now the problem is, I will refresh, click on this. Without even clicking on this option, I am able to get this background colors. So here what happens, inside this quiz question, we will have access to this first object. Why? Because here inside this app.js, we have given index 0, and while passing this, we have only accessed first object from our array. So this quiz question will be our first object. Let me just copy first object, and here I will be pasting and I will comment. So now our quiz question is nothing but first object. So first time using map method, this button is looped. Index will be 0. Quiz question dot correct answer, that is 0. Yes, the condition is true. So whatever class I am having, that will be displayed. Second time again it will loop. Now index is 1. The condition fails. 1 is equal to 0. The condition fails. Wrong class will be displayed. Now index value is 2. 2 is equal to 0. Condition fails. Again wrong class will be displayed. Then 3. 3 is equal to 0. The condition fails, and I will be having this wrong. So each and every time what we are doing, we are just displaying the background color based on correct and wrong answer. But I want to display that different background color only when I have clicked on the button, only when I am having answer. So what we can do, we can just check for the condition. So here below this, I will be creating one variable. Here I will write the variable has answered is equal to, here I will write answer is not equal to null. Now here I'm just going to log this has answered, save it, come here, refresh this one. Now you can see as soon as I click on this, initially I am having false. Now let us understand how we got false. Inside this app.js, for this answer, we have assigned the value null. So initially, we are not having any answer. So that is the reason I have given null. And here I am checking if answer is not null. If it is not null, which means we have given some answer. Why? Because as soon as we click on the button, using this payload, we are passing the index, and that index will be updated in our state variable answer. So here we are checking if answer is not null, which means we are having answer. If answer is equal to null, which means we are not having any answer. Now initially my answer is null, so that is the reason I got false. Because null is not equal to null, the condition fails, and false will be assigned to this variable. So now here I'm just going to copy this variable, and here I will be pasting, and now we are using nested ternary operator. So for this has answered, if it is true, this entire condition will be checked. If this is false, then I do not want to display anything. So initially it will be false because we are not going to have any answer. So else part, nothing will be displayed. But as soon as I click on the button, I will be having the answer. Now it becomes true. Why? Because now my answer is not equal to null. It becomes true. Now here first condition will be checked. And after that it is going to check if my index is equal to this quiz correct answer. If it is yes, correct class will be applied. If it is wrong, wrong class will be applied. Now I come here. Now you can see initially it is false. Why? Because we are not having any answer. And initially our answer is also null. But here as soon as I click on this, you can see now for that answer my value is updated, and has answered variable is also updated to true. Once it is updated to true, only then I am having this colors displayed. Let me refresh again. Come here. Now you can see initially nothing happens. But as soon as I click on this, successfully I am able to display the answer as well as I am able to update my as answered variable. But again, when I click on this, I will be able to click on the buttons. So what I will do, if I am having the answer, then I do not want to click again. I just want to disable all the buttons. I'll come here. So for this button, I will be adding this disable property is equal to, inside that I'm just going to write here has answered. Why I am passing this variable? Using this, we are checking if we have answer or not. If we have answer, then this condition becomes true. So once we have the answer, we do not want to click again. So that is the reason inside this disable, we are passing this has answered. If it is equal to null, that means we are not having any answer. So during that time, we can click on the options. I'll come here, refresh this, click on this button. Successfully, background colors are applied. And now if you see here, my cursor style is changed. Again, when I try to click, I will not be able to click. Why? Because now it is disabled. And how it is disabled? Because here we are checking, using this condition, we are checking if we are having answer or not. Now as soon as I click on that, answer is having some value. Answer is not equal to null. Yes, it is. So this button will be disabled. I completely understand this is very confusing part, but I have tried my level best to simplify this process and explain you each and every concept. But still, if you're having doubt or if you need some time, give time to yourself. Watch the video 2-3 times. Even after watching 2-3 times, if you're having doubt, you can comment your doubts so that I can help you with clarifying your doubts. So successfully, we have completed our first step. Let us now work on updating our points on UI. So in this, you will see more complex state updating logic. But it is very important to understand because in complex project, you will be doing almost all the calculation inside Reducer. Before updating our state, first let us just render our progress bar. Now here I will come inside this app.js. So when that has to be displayed, whenever my status is active, let me come above. Whenever my status is active, I want to display this quiz min. I want to display this question as well as I want to display this next button. So we have already rendered our question component. Now we are going to work on this quiz min component. Again, I will come down. So when this is active, let me just come here. Above this, I'm just going to render my quiz main as well. I will remove this closing tag. Instead, I will be closing in this way. But here, I am rendering two components inside this JavaScript mode. So here I will be using fragments. And below this, I will be closing fragments. Now here, I will copy this quiz main. Once we use quiz main, we have to import quiz main. Here I will be pasting. Here I will paste. Save it. Now I'm just going to click on this start quiz. You can see successfully I am able to display my progress bar where I am having question, I am having points, I am having timer, and also this question component is displayed where all the options are displayed. Here we are having some issue. This points has to be displayed in the same line. I will open this quiz main and from here I will remove this span. Save it. Come here. Now successfully I am having progress bar in which questions are displayed, points are displayed as well as time is displayed. But now we are going to work on the second part when we click on the button. So successfully we have completed the first part by changing the background color of correct answer and wrong answer. Now we are going to work on updating points. So whenever I click on this option, four things we have seen, four things will be happening. So now here points are also getting updated on UI. So for that, we have to create variable in our state. First, I will come inside app.js. Inside this state, I will be creating points, and initially I will not be having any points. Once I click on the answer, only then I have to update my point. So that is very logical. So whenever I get the correct answer, only then I have to update my point. So here, let me just write here points, and by default, I will give here 90. Okay, simply, and I will be separating with comma. Save it. Once I am having new answer, I have copied entire state, and inside this answer, we have already stored the answer index number, and I am just updating my points to 90. Now I'll come down below this. First thing, I have to destructure points. Here I will write points, and I'm just going to display points. Copy, paste. Inspect this. Now I'm just going to click on the start quiz. As soon as I click on this answer, any answer, you can see I'm able to get my point. That is nothing but 90. So successfully, whatever backgrounds we have given, accordingly, that background is displayed. Now we got to know when we have to update our point. Whenever we select the answer, and if we are having the answer, only then we have to update this point. So here, let me remove this. Let me remove entire thing. Why? Because initially we are not aware which is our current question. Why? Because inside initial state we have only passed index and value stored as 0, which means I am just selecting 0th index object. But now first I want to get access to current question, and for each and every question we have given different points. So first we should be having access to current question. Now how we are going to get access to current question? By using JavaScript array method. Again, I will be calculating inside this new answer. So this is where our state updating logic will become more complex. I will just come down. I will write here const. I will write here question is equal to, now my array is nothing but quiz question that is present inside the state. Copy state. From there, I just want to access my quiz question, which is holding entire array of object. And from there, I just want to access my current question. How we are going to write? I will write here at, then I am just going to write state.index. So whatever index I am having, here I am having 0th index. So 0 will be passed here. So from this array, I am just going to access 0th index. If my index value is 1, that index will be passed here. And from this array, I am just going to access first element from the array. So basically, using this, I am just going to get current question from my API. Let me save, and below this, let me just come here. Now below this, I will write log, and simply I just want to display question. Come here, refresh once, click on the start quiz. Now my index is 0. As soon as I click on this, successfully I am able to access the current question. Whatever question is active, I am able to access that question. Similarly, I will come here. I am just going to change my index to 1. Save it. Come here, refresh, click on the start quiz. I will select the answer. Now successfully I am able to access my second question. That is nothing but current question which is displayed on my UI. And inside this question we are having points property. So using this points property, we are just going to update on screen. I'll come here. I will remove this entire thing. So here I will be writing points, and when I want to update the points, only when my answer is correct, I want to update the point. So again, we are just going to get the index number using this action.payload. If it is equal to, from this object, I just want to access my correct answer property. Here I will write correct answer, because using this logic, using this at method, we have got access to current question. So in that current question, I am just checking if my question dot correct answer is equal to action dot payload. If this is true, what I will do, I am just going to update my point. So here I will write state dot point, because this points is available inside this state. Inside this state, we are having our entire initial state, and I'm just accessing my state. If this entire thing is correct, I will just increase the value by 1. If it is false, then simply I'm just going to return my default state. But here, what I want, I just do not want to write 1. Why? Because for each and every question, we are having different points. So here, instead of writing 1, from this question object, I just want to access my points. Now, if you see here, we have written complex state updating logic, and this is very important to understand, because in most of the cases, almost all the calculation we are going to do inside reducer function. So here, first what we did, we have created our point state, and initial value we have assigned as 0. And whenever our answer is correct, only then we have to update our point. So for that, first we got access to the current question using this array at method, and then we are just updating our points. And when we have to update, only when our answer is equal to this correct answer, we have to update our points. If not, we have to return default state. Now I'll come here, refresh this, open this components, click on this app. Inside this reducer, you can see my initial point is 0. I will click on the start quiz. Initially, it is still 0 and my status is active. Now here, I'm just going to select this const. As soon as I click on this const, you can see my point is increased by 5. Why? Because inside index, by default, I have passed index 1, and inside this API for index 1, we are having points as 5. So 5 will be added to my point. And you can see answer value we got as 2. Why? Because 0, 1, 2 answer is also updated. Now let me refresh. Come here. For this second index, we are having point as 10. So here I will pass 2. So using this up method, I will have access to my current question. Refresh this. Click on start. I will open reducer. Initially, my point is 0. Which method is used to render? I will click on this. Now for that, my point is 10. So 10 will be added. So successfully, we are able to update our points. And accordingly, whatever index we are having for the answer, that value will be updated to our answer property. And this entire thing will be same. And by default, we have passed index 2. I will come here. I'm just going to change to 0. Click on this. Now I will be selecting this keys. Open. Now successfully points will be updated. Answer index is 0. Index is 0. Status is active. And inside this quiz question, we are having entire array of object. So successfully, we have updated our points. I will come to options.js. We have seen how to update the point, as well as we have completed our first step. Let us now work on our next button and see how to move to next question. So here we have completed the first step, and also we have completed the second step. Now directly we are working on fourth step. Later we will come to third step, and accordingly we are going to display our question number. We will display the point, as well as we are going to update our status bar. So now let us work on how to display our next button and how to move to next question. I will be closing all the files. Now inside this app.js, now here, whenever my status is active, I will render quizmin, I will render question, and also I have to render my next button. So I'll come down. Whenever my status is active, I have rendered my quizmin, I have rendered my question. Below this, I will be writing next button. I will copy this next button. Come here, I'm just going to import this next button. Come to project, click on this. Now you can see both the buttons, next button as well as finish button is displayed. But I do not want to render both the buttons. So first, let me come to next button. And from here, I'm just going to come in this finish button because this button has to be displayed only when our status changes to finish. So as of now, let us see how to work with this next button. Now here, next button is displayed. Let me refresh. Click on this. Now here, I am having next button. But I have not clicked on any of the answer. But still, this next button is displayed. But what I want, only when I click on this answer, this next button has to be displayed. But before that, whenever I click on this next button, I should be moving to next question. So here, I will come inside app.js and inside this next button, I will pass this dispatch is equal to, here I'm just going to pass dispatch. Copy this dispatch. Inside this next button, I'm just going to accept that prop. Whenever I click on next button, I just want to trigger my new action. So here I will write on click is equal to, I will be passing as value. Then I will be writing dispatch and inside this I will be passing my action. Here I will give type. Type is equal to next question. Here I will write in lowercase. So whenever I click on this, I just want to trigger this action. I will copy this. Inside this app.js, inside reducer, I will be creating new case, next question, and it is going to return object. Now here, what I have to do, I just have to increase my index by 1. So first, I'm just going to copy my entire state and after that, I'm just going to update my index value. So how I will update? From state.index, I will access my index and each and every time, whenever I click, I just want to add the value by 1. First time it is 0. When I click on next button, 0 plus 1, it will be 1. Second time, when I click on next, 1 plus 1, it will be 2. So that index we have already passed inside this question component. You can see. And using this index, we are going to access that index value from our API. And that index value will be displayed as the current question in our component. Now I'll save this. Come here. Refresh once. Click on the start. This is my first question. When I click on this, now you can see my index value is changed and I am inside second question. Let me show you in components. I will come to app and here I am having my reducer. Now you can see current index value is 1. Again, I will click on next. Current index value is 2. Again, click on next. Current index value is 3. Click on next. Current index value is 4. Now here, each and every time when I click on next button, successfully I am able to move to next question. But the problem is here I have not selected any answer. Even if I have not selected any answer, when I click on next button, I am able to move. But I want to prevent this. I just want to display my next button only when my answer is selected. So here I will come. Inside this next button, I will be passing my answer prop, which will be having access to my answer state. Copy this answer prop and inside this next button, I'm just going to accept. And here I will be checking the condition. If my answer is equal to null, then what I have to do? Simply I have to return null, which means If my answer is equal to null, that means I am not having any answer. If I am not having any answer, simply return null. Do not return this next button. What we are doing? We have added extra condition where we are doing early return. If we are not having any answer, simply return null instead of returning next button. Save it. Now come here, refresh this, click on start. Now you can see, let me just decrease the size. Now you can see below this, I am not having my next button. But as soon as I click on this, next button will be displayed. And also in my state, if you see here, now my points will also be updated and my current index is 0 and my answer index is 0. So here answer index is 0. That means now my answer is not equal to null. So once it is not equal to null, then only I have to return my next button. Now I will click on next. But now if you see here, let me show you again. I will click on start quiz. Click on these keys, next button will be displayed. But as soon as I click on next, you can see answer is already selected and whatever background color we have given, that is updated. Why? Because for this second question, whatever correct answer we are having, that is displayed. Similarly, for third question, fourth question, for each and every question, correct answer and wrong answer is displayed because we are not resetting our answer state. Let me show you. Inspect. First, let me just decrease the size. I will open this components app. I will open useReducer. Click on the start quiz. Now here I will be selecting these keys. Next button will be activated. Click on next. Now you can see here answer value is not updated. So now you can see here answer value is not updated, but based on the condition we have passed inside this option.js. Let me show you this condition. Based on this condition, successfully we are able to apply this correct and wrong classes. But if you see inside the state, once I move to next question, my answer is not updated. Again I will click, my answer is not updated. It is not null, which means I am having some answer. So that is the reason this background colors are displayed. So what I will do, I will come to app.js and whenever I am moving to next question, I will also update my answer property. Here I will write answer and I will just set it back to null. Save it. Come here, refresh this. I will just open my reducer. Click on start quiz. Now I will be selecting these keys. Next button will be activated. Just focus on this answer. As soon as I click on this next button, my answer is set to null and no answer is selected. Again when I click on this, my answer index will be updated and also my points are increased. Again next button will be activated. Click on next. Again just focus on this answer. It will be set back to null. My points will be increased. Now I'm just going to click on this render. I will just click on next. You can see based on that my values are getting updated. My point is also increased. Now again click on next. Answer is set back to null. My index is 3. Status is active and my point is 20. So this is how we are going to work. So that is the reason we have created state variable inside one initial state. So that is the reason we have created state variable inside the state and we have assigned default values. So now successfully we are able to activate our next button and when we click on this, everything is working fine. So now whatever points we got, we have to update on screen as well as we have to display how many questions we have completed and also we have to update our progress bar. Let us start working with our progress bar and we will see how to update points and also how to display number of questions completed. So in this project, what I want to do, as soon as I click on this button, this completed question number has to be changed. I will be displaying total number of questions which I am having inside the API. Then I will be displaying the points, how many points I got, and I will be displaying total number of points, and finally we are going to update this progress bar. So in total we are going to do 5 updation. Total number of questions completed divided by number of questions we are having in API, total points received, and we are going to display the total points, and finally we are going to update our progress bar. So whenever I click on the option, these 4 things will be happening. First, we have completed updating points, we have completed, and this first step also completed. Now we are going to work on this third step where we are going to update these 5 things. First, I will come inside this app.js. Whenever our status is active, we have already rendered question main, question component, and next button. And this next button will only be displayed if I have selected the answer. Now inside this quiz main, I will close this, and also I will be closing. I'm just going to open my quiz main. So now inside this, first what I will do, I will just display number of question. So for number of question, we have already calculated, and that entire value we have stored inside this variable. So I'll copy this, and inside this I'm just going to pass as a prop. I will come to quiz main, and here I'm just going to accept that, and in place of this I will just now initially I will give 7, save it, come here, refresh this. Now I will be having 7, but instead of 7 I just want to display number of questions I am having inside the API. Now I got the result as 10, which means successfully I am able to fetch number of questions which are present in my API. So first thing we have completed. Now second, I just have to display how many questions I have completed. I will refresh this, click on the start. Now by default I have given value 2. Here I have given value 2. In place of this value, I just want to display in what question I am currently in. So that I can get from index. So here inside this quiz main, I will be passing index as a prop, and here I will be writing index. Now inside this quiz main, I'm just going to accept index. Why index? Because initially it will be 0. Let me just pass here index. Initially it will be 0. When I click on next button, index value will be updated and 1 will be added. Then index become 1. Again when I click on next button, index become 2. Again when I click on next button, index becomes 3. So I'll come here, refresh once, click on this start. Now you can see I am having 0. Why? Because my index is 0. I will select. As soon as I click on next button, my index value is increased and I am having index 1. But initially I do not want to display 0. Instead, I should be displaying 1. So here I'm just going to add 1. That's it. You do not have to do anything. Index 0. Initially, value of index is 0. So when I'm displaying, I just want to add 1. I will come here. Now you can see for my first question, I will have 1. I will click on this, click on next button. For second, I will be having 2. Why? Because previous index value was 1. 1 plus 1, 2 will be displayed. So successfully, we have completed these 2 parts. Now let us come to this point and display our points here. So again, inside this app.js, whenever we select the correct answer, we have already updated our points. So these points we have already restructured, and now I'm just going to pass this point as a prop. And I already mentioned we are passing multiple props. Later on in future lecture, we are going to see better solution for this. I will save, come to quiz main, and here I'm just going to accept the prop. Now where I have to display the point, In place of this 35, I just want to display my points. Save it. Come here, refresh this, start the quiz. Initially, my point is 0, so that is the reason 0 is displayed. As soon as I click on this, you can see my point is updated and I got the value 5. Again, I will click on this next. Click on this const, my point is updated. I got the result as 10. Click on next. Now I will be selecting the wrong answer. Now you see my point will not be updated and still it is going to remain 10. Why? Because we have already updated that in app.js. Only when this condition is true, if our answer is correct, only then we are going to update our point, or else we are going to return our default points. I will click on next. I will be selecting front end. Now you can see successfully point is updated. Refresh. Click on the start quiz. Now I just have to display final points. Now here I have to work on this total points. Now how I will be getting total point? Just think for a second. What array method will be best suited in this case? If you got the answer as reduce, then you are completely correct. I will come inside this app.js. From here, I will remove this console. Below this, I will write here const. Here I will be creating one variable total points. I assume at this point you are already aware of array reduce method. So now using array reduce method, I'm just going to calculate all the point values. So on this quiz question array, which will be having my entire API data, this one, inside this is nothing but array. Here I will be using reduce method. And inside this reduce method, I will be passing callback function. And here I will pass previous value and current value. And what I will do, whatever previous value I am having, I am just going to add with current points. And each and every time it is going to hold my current point. So here I will write current dot points. And initial value I'm just going to give as 0. Okay, this is how array reduce method will be working. Using this reduce method, from each and every object, I am accessing the points property and I am adding to this previous. Let me show you. I will just open this. And inside this, I am having this points. So initially, this current will be holding this entire object and previous value is nothing but 0. So here 0 plus current dot points, I will be having 5. Now my previous become 5 and this current becomes this second object and inside that I am having 5. So 5 plus 5 I will have 10. Now previous becomes 10. Then I will have 10 plus 10 20, 20 plus 5 25 and it keeps on going. Let me come here. Now below this I will be writing log and inside this I'm just going to pass total points. Save it. Click on this start. Now you can see my total point is nothing but 70. How I got 70? From this point it has calculated all the point and it has given me final value as 70. If you count here you will have 70. 5 plus 5 10, 20, 30, 35, 45, 55, 60. Then finally we are having 5 and 5 70. So using this reduce method we have calculated points property value and we have returned one single value, that is nothing but 70. Now I am just going to copy this total points and inside this quiz main I will be passing that as a prop. I will come to quiz main and here I will be accepting and in place of this 70 I'm just going to write this total points. Save. Refresh this. Click on the start quiz. Successfully, I am able to display 70. Previously also we had 70, but now using this total points, we got the value as 70. When I click on this, if the answer is correct, only then my point value will be updated. And also I am inside first question, 1 will be displayed. When I click on next, 2 will be displayed. Point is still 5. Later on, we are going to work on this timer. But as of now, let us see how to increase the status inside this progress bar. I will come here. And inside this quiz main, we have already given this progress bar. So here inside this, I will just come here. We are going to have value attribute, and here I will be giving index. Initially, our index is 0. So 0 will be passed here. Save it. Refresh this. Click on the start quiz. Nothing will be displayed. But here I will write index plus 9. Save it. Now you can see my entire progress bar is completed. Because inside this progress bar, we can give value as 0, 1, 2, 3, and it keeps on going. But we are having maximum attribute as well. Inside this maximum attribute, I'm just going to give how many questions I am having inside the API. So in total, I am having 10 questions. So maximum number will be 10. I will come here, refresh this, click on the start. Now you can see my value is 9 and my maximum number is 10. So that is the reason my progress bar is here. But here directly, if I add 10, save it, now entire progress bar will be completed. Here I will be writing 1, save it. Now you can see my progress bar is here. Why? Because my value is 1 and maximum is 10 because of this number of question. So if I give the value 1, only this much it is going to update. If I give 2, this much, 3, this much, and it keeps on going. Once I reach to 10, this entire progress bar will be completed. So here I'm just going to give index, close, save it. And from here I will remove 1, save, refresh this, click on start. Initially my index is 0, so nothing is displayed. I will click on this answer. Still, my progress bar is not increased. But as soon as I click on next button, my index will change to 1 and this progress bar is increased. But I do not want this one. Instead, as soon as I click on the answer, my progress bar status has to be updated. Again, let me show you what I am trying to tell. I will click on start quiz. Initially, my index is 0. No change in the status. I will click on this. Again, no change in the status. I will click on next. Now my index is changed to 1. And now here I am having change in my progress bar. Again click on next, click on next. So you can see based on this answer, I will be having change in my progress bar. But what I want, as soon as I click on this answer, my progress bar has to be changed. So for that, what I will do, inside this value, I'm just going to apply some trick. Here I will write plus. I will be writing number function, and inside this I will pass this condition. If my answer is not equal to null, let me explain you. So this is the simple magic, or you can call as a trick. If my answer is not equal to null, which means I am having some answer. Initially, we have set answer to null. That means we have not selected any answer. So here I am checking if my answer is not equal to null, which means I have selected some answer. If this condition is true, using this number function, we are converting this boolean result to number. So true will be changed to 1 and false will be changed to 0. So here, as soon as I select the answer, this condition becomes true, and using this number function, I am just converting true to 1. So index is 0, 0 plus 1, I will have the result 1. I will come here. Here I am having answer is not defined. So first, from this app.js, inside this quiz main, I have to pass my answer as a prop. Here I will be writing answer. Copy this answer, and inside this quiz main, I have to accept answer. Save it. Come here. Refresh once. Click on the start quiz. Now just focus on the status. As soon as I click on this answer, my progress bar is updated and I am having the correct result. So here what happened? Now here answer is not equal to null. Yes, it is. I have already selected the answer. If it is not equal to null, this will be giving me true. Using this number function, that true will be converted to 1. So 0 plus 1, I will be having the result 1 and my progress bar will be changed. I will click on next. Now still my value is 1. Now here I will be selecting this const. Again I am having answer. My progress bar is changed. Answer is not equal to null. Yes, it is. 1 plus 1. I will have the result 2. And it keeps on going, and accordingly we are just updating our status bar. Successfully, we have displayed total number of question and total marks, and currently at what question we are having, that number we have displayed, and also we have displayed how many points we have received, and successfully we have updated our status bar. Let us now work on handling finish status. I will close this files. Now inside this app.js, what we have to do, whenever our status is finished, we just want to render this end quiz component where we are going to have what scores we have scored. We will be having emoji along with different message. We are going to calculate percentage, and also we are going to have restart quiz button. But before that, let me come here. Here I will click on start quiz. I will open this inspect. I'm just going to open my components. Now inside this, I will just come to app. Inside this reducer, directly I'm going to give index as 9. As soon as I give index, you can see I'm inside 9th question, and question is displayed as well as answers are displayed. I will click on this 3000. Next button is activated. I will click on this next button. Now my index value is changed to 9 and I am inside my last question. But now after clicking this answer, as soon as I click on next button, I will be having this error. Why error? Because inside my array, let me refresh this. Inside my array, I am having only 10 elements. So for which I will be having 0 to 9 index. After 9, if I click on next button, I am going to have that error. Why? Because I am not having that many questions. I am only having 10 questions in my API. So for this last question, as soon as we click on the answer, instead of displaying next button, I want to display finish button. But first, let us see how to handle our finish status. I will come down below this entire status, below this one, I will be writing JavaScript mode. Here I will write status. If my status is equal to finished, then what I have to do, I just have to render this end quiz component. I will close, copy this component name, come here, and here I will just import. I will paste, and here I will be pasting. So initially our status is loading. Let me just come here. Now inside this component, I'm just going to change my status value. Here initially you can see once my data is fetched, my status is changed to ready. Now here I will be writing finished. Hit enter, my last screen is displayed. Now here inside this, first I will just display the point. Then I'm just going to display total number of point, and also we are going to calculate the percentage. I'll come here. I will come to this end screen. Open end screen, and inside this, here I have to display how many points I have got. So that is present inside our point state. I will be passing as state, and here I will be writing points. Save it, copy this, and here I'm just going to accept that prop. And in place of this 20, I will be passing my points. And this total point we have already calculated using array reduce method, and that we have stored inside this variable. I will copy, and again this I will be passing as a prop. Copy this total points, and inside this end quiz, in place of this I will be pasting, but before that I have to accept this prop. Save it. Come here, just change the status. Here I will be writing finished. Hit enter. Here successfully I am able to get the points which I have scored, and also I am able to display this total point. I will refresh this, start the quiz. I will select the correct answer. I will click on next button. Now here I am just going to change. I will give this status to finished. Now my point is 5. As soon as I hit enter, 5 will be displayed. So successfully we have displayed how many points we have got, and also we have displayed total points. So now let us calculate the percentage. I will come here. Below this I will write here const. Percentage is equal to whatever points we got. I will write here points divided by total points, and this entire value we are just going to multiply by 100. I will copy this percentage. In place of this 20, I will be pasting my percentage. And this percentage, I will be wrapping inside JavaScript mode. Now you can see successfully I am able to get my percentage. But here I do not want to display the decimal points. So I'll come here. Here we are displaying our percentage. Inside this, I'm just going to write my math function. Here I will write math.round. And this entire thing I will be wrapping inside parenthesis. Now you can see I got 7%. You can either use math.floor, math.ceil. Accordingly, you can display the percentage. But this is how we are going to display the points, total number of points, and we have calculated our percentage. But now what I want, I will just refresh this. Click on start quiz, and here I will just update my index to 8. And now I am inside 9th question. I will click on next, but here as soon as I click on this answer, instead of this next button, I just want to display my finish button. But as of now, what we will do, as soon as I select answer for last question, I am not going to display this next button. If I display and if I click on this, I will be having the error. So now I will come inside this app.js. For this next button, I will just pass the index, and here I will write index. And also I want to access how many questions I am having inside the API. So here I will write number of question is equal to number of question. I will open this next component, and inside this I have to accept this prop. Copy, and here I will be pasting. I will come here, copy this, and here I will be pasting. So first what we have done, we have checked the condition. If our answer is equal to null, then simply return null and do not return this next button. Now below this, what I will do, I will be checking for another condition. If my index is less than number of question minus 1, only then return this button, or else do not return this button. So my number of question is 10, which we are having inside the API. 10 minus 1, I will have 9. So initially index will be 0. 0 is less than 9. Yes, it is. Button will be displayed. Then index become 1. 1 is less than 9. Yes, it is. Button will be rendered. Then finally, I will come to index 9, which is nothing but a last question. 9 is less than 9. The condition fails, and I will not be displaying my next button. I will save. Come here, refresh this, click on the start, next button will be activated. Now directly inside components, I'm just going to change the index. I will click on this components. Inside this app, inside this useReducer, I will give 8. Now, as soon as I click on this, successfully I am having this next button. But now my index is 9. 9 is less than 9. The condition fails. Now if I click on this, you can see next button is not displayed. Why? Because this condition has failed and it will not be returning anything. So instead of displaying the next button in the last question, we just want to display finish button. Let us now work on displaying our finish button. And when I want to display the button, when I am inside the last question, only then I have to display my finish button. So here, this next button will be displayed when this condition is true. Below this, I will be writing another condition. Here I will write if my index, if it is equal to number of question minus 1, which means if my index is equal to 9, only then I have to display my finish button. So here I will write return, and inside this I'm going to copy entire thing. Here I will be pasting uncomment finish button, remove next button from here, and from here I will remove this comment. So here we have already seen when our next button will be displayed. Once my index become 9, which means I am inside the last question. That time I do not want to display my next button. Instead, if my index is 9 and using this we get the result as 9. If index is 9 is equal to 9, only then I have to display this finish button. And when my index become 9, when I am inside last question, that time my index become 9. So in that situation, I have to display my finish button. So now here, restart, click on start quiz. When I click, successfully, I am able to display this next button. Now I will come to last question. Now I am inside the last question. As soon as I click on this, you can see instead of next button, now here finish button is displayed. Now what I want, when I click on this finish button, I just want to change my status to finished. And inside this app.js, we have already told when our status is finished, we just want to render this end quiz component. So here, inside this next button, here I will write on click is equal to, I'm just going to write arrow function. Here I will be passing dispatch, then I will be passing action, and here I will write finish. As soon as I click on this, I just want to trigger this action. Now I will copy this finish. Inside this reducer, below this, I will be writing case. I am going to pass finish. Once I have triggered this action, what I want to do, I will return. First, I'm just going to copy my entire state, and after that, only thing I have to update is my status property, and I will just change it to finish. So that's it. Once I click on this finish button, I only want to update my status property to finish. Once it is finished, what I will render, I'm just going to render my end quiz component. I'll come here, click on the start quiz, click on this next button. Now directly inside this component, I'm just going to change my index value. Here inside this reducer, now I will be giving 8. I am inside ninth question. Click on this next button. Click on this. Now I am having finish button. As soon as I click on finish button, you can see successfully I am able to render my end quiz component. Inside this, whatever points I got, that is calculated. Total point is given and also percentage is calculated. So what we have done, inside this, we are checking for this condition. If this is true, only then we have to display this finish button. As soon as I click on this finish button, I am triggering this action. And here inside the reducer, what I am doing, once that action is triggered, I am copying entire state and I am just updating my status property to finish. Once it is finished, what I have to do, I have to render my end quiz component. Now let me come to end quiz, and here We are just going to calculate percentage, and based on the percentage value, we are going to display different emoji and message. Below this, I will be creating variable. Here I will write emoji, and also I will be creating message. Below this, I will just check if my percentage is equal to 100. Then here I'm just going to update my emoji. Here I will write as a string. I will be passing this celebration and with semicolon, and then here I will be updating my message. Inside this I will write perfect score. Then I will be writing else if my percentage is greater or equal to 18, and if my percentage is less than 100. Then what I want to do, again I will copy this. I will be pasting it here. In place of this emoji, remove, I will write here happy. Select this, and inside this message, I am going to write great job. Remove this message. Here I will write great job. I will give one space. Then again, I will be writing else if my percentage is greater or equal to 50, and if my percentage is less than 80, again I will open this box, copy. Here I will be pasting. I will remove this emoji. In place of that, I am going to write simple smile. Here I will give this. I will remove this message. Instead, I am just going to write good efforts. Again, below this, I will be writing else if. Here I will be checking if my percentage is greater than 0, and if my percentage is less than 50. Open this blocks, copy this. Here I will be pasting. Remove this entire thing. Windows slash. Here I will write sad. Remove this entire thing. Here I am going to give the message as keep trying. And finally, I will be writing last condition. If my percentage is equal to 0, then what I will do, copy, paste it here, remove this. Here I am going to write cry. Select this. No answers are correct. So simple. I have used JavaScript if else statement, and inside, and based on this percentage value, I am giving different emoji and different message. Now here, in place of this, I will be giving this emoji variable, and in place of this message, I'm just going to pass my message variable. Save it. Come here. Now you can see I got keep trying. Why? Because my score is 10 and my percentage is 14. So inside this condition will be satisfied. My percentage is greater than 0 and it is less than 50. So this emoji and this message will be displayed. You can see 14 percentage. So that is the reason this condition is true, and I will be having the result. If you want to check the values for different percentage, you can proceed with that. But successfully, we have rendered our finish button, and we have calculated this emojis and message based on different value for percentage. Let us now work on calculating our high score. So now what we want to do, first time user is playing and user has got 50 points out of 70. Out of 70, he has scored 50 points. So what happens? First time this 50 will be set as high score. And second time when he is playing, he has scored 45 out of 70. So again in this case 50 will be our high score. Then finally third time when he is playing, he scored 60 out of 70. Then what happens? 60 will be our new high score. So now we are going to work on this logic. So first of all, when we want to display the high score, when our game is getting finished, only then we have to display our high score. Again, high score is updated on screen based on different point. So here inside initial state, I will be creating one variable. I will write high score. Initial value, I'm just going to give 0. Why? Because initially we will not have any high score. So I have given the value as 0. I will remove this T. Now this high score has to be displayed in our end quiz component. So here I will be passing as a prop. Open this end quiz, and inside this I'm just going to accept the prop. And here in place of this points, I'm just going to render my high score. Save it. Come here. Now here I am having high score is not defined. Why? Because we have not destructured that, and here I will be pasting my high score. So from my state, I'm just going to destructure. Now if I see, I will be having the result. Now what I want to do, I will just come to components, and inside this, I'm just going to change my status. Here I will be writing finished. As soon as I hit enter, you can see successfully I am inside my end quiz component and my high score is nothing but 0. In place of 65 static data, now successfully I am able to display 0. Why? Because in our state we have given high score as 0. Now what we have to do? We just have to update our high score. And when we will update, as soon as we click on the finish button, we are going to calculate the high score, because when we click on finish button, we will be redirected to this component. So now inside reducer, inside this case, we are just going to update our high score. As soon as my status becomes finished, then only I just have to calculate my high score. So here I will be checking if state dot points, okay, whatever points user has received, if that point is greater than state dot high score. If it is, then what I will do, I'm just going to assign this state dot points. So if my state dot points, if it is greater than my state dot high score, then successfully I'm just going to assign state dot points as my new high score. If not, simply I'm just going to return state dot high score. So for example, user has scored 50 points. So now initially 50 is greater than 0. Yes, it is. So 50 will be assigned to this high score. So here I will be having 60. Now my current high score is 50. 60 is greater than 50. Yes, it is. So now 60 will be assigned to high score. But now user has scored 40 points. Now here 40 will be passed. 40 is greater than 60. No, it is not. So I'm just going to return my default high score as the new high score. That is 60. So this is how we are going to update our high score. Now I will come here, refresh this, click on start. Just open this. Now here you can see initially my high score is 0. I will click on these keys. Now high score will not be calculated, because that will only be calculated when I click on finish button. Now here just focus on these points. I will click on this const, click on next, render, click on next, front end, click on next, click on next, use effect, next. Now I got 45 points. Again I will click on next. Here you can see I am having 55. I will just select wrong answers now. Now you can see my points is nothing but 55. As soon as I click on finish button, only then my high score value will be calculated. As soon as I click on this finish button, just focus on this high score. My new high score is 55, and here 55 is displayed. But now the problem is user is not having this restart quiz as active. So what happens? As soon as the user refresh, entire state value will be updated and we will be having default values. Again, when user is starting the quiz, all the state variables will be set to default value. So this time, whatever point he will be getting set as current high score. But we do not want that. After finishing the quiz, if the user is reloading the page, only then all the variables will be set and it will be calculated from scratch. But if the user clicks on restart button, that high score should be present inside the state, and based on that high score, we are going to update our high score as soon as we click on finish button. So later when we see how to restart the quiz, then we will see how the high score is updated based on different values. Let us now work on restarting a quiz. So first, let me come to endquiz.js. Inside that, we are having this restart quiz button. So here, whenever I click on this restart quiz, I have to start completely from the scratch. So here, inside app.js, for this end quiz, I have to pass dispatch because once I trigger the action, only then I have to restart my quiz. So I have to give access to dispatch. Inside this JavaScript mode, I will be writing dispatch. Copy this dispatch. Inside this end quiz, I'm just going to accept this prop. I will come here. Now for this button, I will be adding on click. Here I will be writing my dispatch function as a value, dispatch, and inside this I will be passing my action. Action is nothing but restart. So now we are having new action. Now I will copy this action, come to app.js, and inside this reducer, I will be creating new case. And here what I have to do, as soon as I click on restart button, I have to reset my quiz. But again, I do not want to refetch my data. So here I will be writing quiz question. Whatever previous data I am having inside this quiz question, I am just going to access that and I will be storing inside this variable. So from my state, I will write here quiz question. Once our data is fetched, we will have entire array of objects inside this quiz question. Why? Because accordingly we have dated and we have got entire object. And after that, we have changed our status to ready. Once our status is ready, what we did, we have rendered our header component. So same thing we have to do. As soon as I click on restart button, I have to get all my question and I will be updating this. After that, I will just change my status to ready. But here at this point, I have to get some initial values. I do not want any answer. So here I will be writing answer to be null. I want to set my points. Points I will be setting it to 0. High score I will not be setting because from that high score itself, we are going to calculate our next high score. Then let me come to initial state. Inside this, we are having index also I have to reset. I will copy and here I will be pasting. So in total, we are having 6 state variables and finally we are having high score. Here I will write high score. High score also I will be getting from my previous state. Okay, that is previous updated state. So here I will write state.highscore. Now let me come here, refresh this, click on the start button. I will open my components. And inside this, we are having our useReducer. I will just select some answers and directly I will come into index 8. And I am inside this ninth question. I will select this 3000. Click on next. Select this use state. Now you can see high score is 0. Why? Because initially our high score will be 0. Once we click on the finish button, only then our high score will be calculated. So here, as soon as I click on finish button, my status will be changed to finished and my new high score is nothing but 10. But just focus what happens as soon as I click on restart quiz, entire thing will be reset. But my high score is stored, my status is changed to ready, and inside this quiz question, I am having entire array of object. But rest entire thing is reset. Answer is reset, points are reset, and also index is reset. Now my current high score is 10. I will click on restart. Now I will be scoring more marks. Now directly I will be coming to 8th question. Inside this I will select 3000, use state. Now you can see I have scored 25 points and my previous high score is 10. As soon as I click on finish, now my current high score is 25 and what I have scored? I have scored 25 points. So successfully I am able to display this high score. Again I will restart the quiz. My high score is retained. Now what I will do? Now I am just going to score less than 25. I will click on start quiz. Click on this. Directly I will be coming to last question, index 9, and here I will be selecting use state. Now how many points I got? I got points as 10, but my high score is nothing but 25. As soon as I click on finish, you can see still my high score is 25. I have scored 10 points and accordingly message is displayed as well as percentage is calculated. But as soon as I click on restart quiz, my status will be changed to ready. Once it will change to ready, I will be rendering my header component. But I have not set my quiz question because we do not want to refetch the data. So whatever value we were having inside this quiz question, we have just retained that value as well as we have not updated our high score. But here inside this same thing is already present inside our initial state. So what we will do, instead of writing the same variables again, simply we are just going to copy our initial state. I will just bring this up. First, I'm just going to copy my initial state and after that, I'm just updating my state values. Refresh this, click on start, open this reducer. Now directly, I will be coming to last question. I have scored 5 points. As soon as I click on finish, you can see my high score is 5 and also I have scored 5 points. Accordingly, message will be displayed. Again, I will restart the quiz. Now you can see successfully entire thing is reset. My status is ready. My index is 0. Answer is null. Point is 0 and my high score is retained. So you can either follow the first step or you can copy the state in this way because multiple times we are just copying the state. But here while copying, we are just passing this variable. But while restarting the quiz, we are just passing our initial state, which will be holding all the default values. So this is how we will be working with restart quiz. First, what you have to do, you have to give access to this dispatch function and inside this end quiz, you have to accept dispatch and you have to trigger this restart action. So once our quiz is restarted, we are just copying our entire state. We are not changing quiz question. Whatever data we are having from previous state, we are not changing that data and that data we are assigning to this quiz question. And only thing we are just changing our status to ready so that directly we will be moving to our header component because here we have already updated. If our status is ready, then we have to render this header component. Then finally, whatever high score we were having from previous date, that high score we are retaining so that we can calculate our next high score. Successfully, we have completed almost entire functionality, but only thing we are left with this timer. Let us now work on last functionality of this project, that is, we are going to work on a timer. Inside this project, as soon as I click on start quiz, only then my timer has to be activated. When my application is getting mounted, I do not want to start my timer. Instead, whenever my quiz is active, only then I want to start my timer. So this timer is present inside this quiz main component, and here we are having our timer component. Now inside this, again here I will be using use effect. Why use effect? Because whenever this component is getting mounted, I just want to start my timer, and this use effect is imported from React library. Inside this, I will be passing this callback function, and second, I will be passing this dependency. And why this use effect we are not using inside app.js? Because this app.js will be started as soon as entire application is mounted. But what I want, my timer should be started only when my quiz is active. So that is the reason I have given this use effect inside this timer. Now I will come to app.js, and each and every time we are just going to decrease the timer. We are going to create last piece of state, that is remaining time, and initial value I will give it as 5. Later on we are going to calculate this value, but as of now I have given 5. Now this remaining time has to be displayed inside timer.js. So I will copy, and this timer is present inside this quiz main component. I will pass as a prop, and then inside this quiz main I will be accepting prop, and finally for this timer I will be passing this as a prop. I will come to timer.js, and here I will be accepting my prop, and in place of this I will simply render my remaining time. Now as soon as I click on start quiz, you can see 5 is displayed. Why? Because initially I have assigned value 5. Now what I want, each and every second my timer value has to be reduced. So now inside this timer I should be having access to dispatch function. So similarly, how we have passed the prop, here for this quiz main I will be passing dispatch is equal to, I'm just going to pass my dispatch function. I will copy this prop. Inside this quiz main I will accept the prop. Then this prop I will be passing it here, and finally I'm just going to pass my dispatch value. After that, in timer.js I will accept the prop. Now what I want to do, after every 1 second I just want to decrease my timer. So here we are going to use our set interval function, and I believe in JavaScript you have already used this set interval function, and inside this I will be giving 1000 millisecond, which means after every 1 second I just want to run my timer. Now here I have written hello. Come here, restart my application. Now you can see inside console my timer has not started, but as soon as I click on start quiz, just focus, my timer will be started and I will be having this hello. So only once my application is active, I just want to start my timer. Only when my quiz is active, I just want to start my timer. If I load the application, I do not want to start the timer. So that is the reason this use effect I have not displayed inside app.js. Now, in place of this console, what I want to do, after every 1 second, I just want to dispatch my action. So here I will write dispatch. Inside this, I'm just going to pass my action. Action I will give as timer. Now I'm going to copy, save it, come here, click on this. Again, successfully I am able to display 5. But as soon as this action is triggered after every 1 second, inside app.js, inside reducer, I will be adding new case. So after every second, what I have to do, I just have to decrease my timer. Here I will write return. I'm just going to copy my entire state. I do not want to change anything. Instead, I will only give remaining time. I will access this remaining time from state.remaining time, and after that I just have to decrease the value by 1. Save it, come here, click on this. You can see each and every time my value is getting decreased by 1. and my component is getting rendered. If you see inside this components, let me come here inside app.js. Each and every time my remaining time value will be decreased, and it is very fast because we are inside our development server, but inside production it will not be happening. It is not going to decrease 2 times, but as we are in development server we are having this result, but successfully we are able to decrease the time. But now let me show you what happens. I will click on the start quiz. My timer has started. Okay, my timer is going on. Now here inside this, I'm just going to give my status as finished. Hit enter. Now my quiz has completed. But again, as soon as I click on restart quiz and start the quiz, you can see my timer has already started. It was 3, it was not 5. So what we have to do, each and every time we are going to get ID from this set interval. So we are going to perform cleanup activity. So here for this set interval, I will give the value ID, and here below this set interval, I'm just going to perform my cleanup action. Here I will write return. What I want to return? I just want to return the function where I just want to clear my interval. Inside this, I will be passing ID. Okay, in vanilla JavaScript, you would have already seen how to clean the timers and how to work with this set interval and clear interval. So using this, what we are doing, again when we are starting the quiz, this set interval will be returning the unique ID. So that is the reason using this clear function, we are just cancelling that previous timer. So this is very important whenever you are working with timers. Now I'll come here, refresh this, click on start quiz. Now I am having 5. I will just change my status. I will give here finished. Hit enter, restart quiz. Now you can see I am having 5, and after that successfully it will be updated. And now if you see, and each and every time my value is getting decreased by 1. But now the problem is, if you are working in larger application, then using this kind of logic would be terrible. Why? Because whenever our parent component is getting rendered, all of the child components will also be rendered. So due to which we will have performance issue. But as of now, we are not writing this logic inside the parent component. Instead, directly we are writing inside this timer.js. So that will not be an issue. But whenever you are writing this kind of logic in parent component, remember each and every second parent component will be re-rendered. Once a parent component is re-rendered, and inside that whatever child components we are having, entire components will be re-rendered. So you should be very careful whenever you are writing this kind of logic. Now here, what happens? My dispatch is dependency. How it became dependency? Because after every 1 second, we are just triggering this action. So now inside this dependency, we just have to pass a dispatch. I'll come here, restart the quiz, click on start. Successfully, I am able to get the result. But now I do not want to display this number. Instead, I want to display minute and second, as well as I have to calculate the time based on the number of questions given. So imagine for each and every question we are having 20 seconds. So I have to calculate that timing, and for each and every question I have to give 20 seconds, and total timing has to be displayed here in the form of minutes and seconds. So now I will come here inside this app.js. By default, my timer will not be started. Instead of 5, here I will be writing null. And I have already mentioned whenever our quiz is active, we have to start a timer. So here I will come down. So here we are having this active status. As soon as I click on start, my status will be activated, and after that I have to start my timer as well. Here I will be writing remaining time. Now inside this, first I will get access to my number of question. So from this state, I will access my quiz question, which is having entire array of object. And from this, I just want to calculate the length. So here I will write length. So this will be giving me 10. Now what I will do, for each and every question, I just want to give 20 seconds. So I will just pass here 20. So 10 into 20, I will have the result as 200. Okay, what we have done, initially our timer will not be started. So I have assigned the value null. And when our timer has to be started, once our status is active, only then we have to start a timer. Once our status is changed to active, what we are doing, how many questions we are having inside the API, we are getting the length and we are just multiplying by 20. Why? Because for each and every question, I just want to give 20 seconds. Now, this 20 you cannot directly pass here. Instead, what you can do, you can create separate variable as a constant. I will write seconds per question is equal to 20. Now I will copy this variable. In place of this 20, I will be passing that variable. So later when you see this, it should be like reading like a sentence. I am just copying my entire state. When my status is active, I am just updating my remaining time. And with what value I am calculating? Whatever seconds I have assigned to per question, with that value, I am just calculating with my length. Okay, it should be readable enough to understand. Now I'll come here. Click on the start quiz. Now you can see 200 was displayed. Why? Because this state.quiz question will be returning me entire array of object. From that array, I am finding the length. So this is going to return me 10. So 10 into 20, 200 was displayed. Now I have to calculate and I have to display the timing in proper format. So here inside this timer.js, I will be calculating minutes and seconds. Below this, I will be writing const. Here I will write minutes is equal to, here I am going to write whatever remaining time I am having, I just want to divide by 60. So this is going to give me remaining time and it will be in decimal point. So this entire value I am just going to wrap inside this math floor function. Okay, similar to this, I will be calculating seconds. But for seconds, let us write, here I will be writing math.floor. Inside this remaining time, I'm just going to do modulus of 60. Using this, I will be getting quotient as my remainder, that is nothing but minute. And using this, I will be getting my remainder as my result. So that is nothing but my seconds. So using this two calculation, I have calculated my minutes and seconds from this remaining time. Now I'll copy this. In place of this remaining time, I will be pasting minutes. Here I will be giving colon and then I will be pasting seconds. Save it. Come here. Now you can see successfully the timer has been displayed. Refresh this. Click on start. Now I am having 3 minutes 20 seconds. But if you notice here, if the number is less than 9, what I just want to display 0 before this number or else simply display the previous time. But now if you notice, if my number is less than 0, I just want to print 0 before this number. Here I will be passing the condition. For this minutes, I will write here, if my minutes is less than 10, what I will do? I will write here logical AND operator. If it is less than 10, I will be adding 0 and after that I will display this minutes. Now save it. Now you can see before 2 I am having 0. Let me just give one space. Now before 2 I am having 0. Similarly for this seconds I will be calculating. Here I will write if my second is less than 10, then again what I have to do? I just have to add 0. Save it. Come here, refresh this one, click on this. Now I am having 0 before this 3 and once this second reaches 9, I will be having 0 before 9. Let us see. Now you can see successfully my time is formatted. Now instead of giving colon, here I will be giving hyphen. So now successfully we have completed our entire logic. Once my timer reaches 0, what I want to do, I just want to finish my quiz. So here in last question, we will have our finish button displayed. Once I click on finish button, my status will be set to finish. Same thing, I have to check now. Once my timer reaches 0, I just want to set my status to finish. So where we are going to set? Inside app.js, inside this timer case, we are going to set that status. So here, once my timer reaches 0, what I will do? I will just update my status to finish. So here I will write my status. Then I will access my remaining time. And this remaining time, if it is equal to 0, then I will set my status to finished. Else, what I want to do, I just want to return the default status. Whatever current status I am having, I just want to return that status. So inside this timer, as soon as my timer reaches 0, here I am just checking if it is equal to 0, update this status to finish. If not, whatever status we are having, simply return that status. Now I'll come here, refresh this, click on this start. My timer is already started. I will come to components. Now inside this, you can see my timer is displayed. Now here, what I will do, I will just remove this. Instead, I will be giving 5. 5 seconds, 4, 3, 2, 1. As soon as it reaches 0, successfully my status is updated to finish, and whatever values or whatever operations we have done, successfully entire thing is been set. You can see once our status is finished, we are calculating high score, we are returning entire state, so entire thing will be same. Again I will restart the quiz. Here number of questions will be displayed. Start the quiz. Quiz component is displayed. I am having all the options which are fetched from the API. Progress bar is displayed. Question is displayed. Points are displayed as well as timing is displayed. I will select the answer. Now you can see as soon as I click on answer, only then I will be having this next button. Now if I try to click on this option, it will not be possible. Why? Because we have disabled entire thing. Now I am inside third question, so 3 will be displayed, and accordingly my progress bar will be changed. And here whatever points I have got, that will be displayed, and total number of points will be displayed, and accordingly my timer will be running. Again I will click on next, click on front end, click on next. Here I will just select state, click on next, use effect, click on next, crops, click on next, export, click on next, 3000, next, finally use state. So in total I have scored 70 out of 70, and I am inside 10th question. My timer is still running and we are still having 2 minutes of time. I will click on finish. We have redirected successfully. I have got 70 out of 70 and I have scored 100%. So whatever emoji and message we have given, that message will be displayed and my high score will be 70 points. Again, I can restart the quiz. I can click on this start. Again, my quiz will be started. Accordingly, my values will be calculated and my high score will be set. So this is the entire project to master useReducer hook. I hope you enjoyed this project and you had lot of fun while creating this project. If you're having any doubt, you can ask your doubt so that I can help you in clarifying your doubt. Thank you so much for watching till here. Stay tuned for more projects.